Folks, we are live with our man Steve, the evil investor, and Amit. Guys, this is the leader of the Palantir army. I don't know if we should call him the general. I don't know if we should salute him. I'm not quite sure. But Amit, I do appreciate you being here with us tonight, man.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to learn how to diversify into Pokemon.
First of all, do you know anything about Pokemon? Did you grow? I mean, obviously, here, how old are you?
27.
Because you're a little younger, but I mean, you had to grow up with it in some way, right?
Yeah, Pokemon was definitely part of the pop culture. I watched a little bit of it when I was probably like 8 to 12 years old. Never kept up with the series to the point where I understand the storylines, but I know Ash Ketchum, Pikachu, all that stuff, but don't really understand the show. However, the fan base obviously is massive. It was that Yu-Gi-Oh! I was a bigger fan of.
Okay.
But Pokemon, ended up taking off to a different level.
So other than obviously stocks and crypto, do you put money to work anywhere else besides those two things? Or are you just kind of just stay on
I have a couple of startups that I'm invested in, and that's it.
Gotcha. All right. So coming in fresh. I like it.
I have an open mind. I'm a blank state. Steve can't corrupt me with his ideological biases. I'm here to listen to an objective understanding of Pikachu investing, and I'm here. So.
Pikachu investing, that's what it is. Throw all your money in Pikachu. Steve, let's hear the ideological biases, man. I'm interested.
Well, first off, a word to the wise, don't get wrecked like me. That's a word to the wise.
Because you got wrecked.
Everybody said I was going to get wrecked. I mean, Alex, did I get wrecked buying this at $430?
Got wrecked, man.
Got wrecked, right?
How long ago did you buy that?
I'd have to look at when I sent the PayPal.
About a year ago?
Yeah, 8 months to a year ago, somewhere around there.
I mean, it's no Palantir or XRP, but it's keeping up.
I mean,
I think they're going for about $950 to $1,000 now.
Yeah, some people thought I was crazy, and some people in your Discord thought I was going to get wrecked. But, there's one major word that I look at, and that word is opportunity. And this is an inefficient market that not a lot of people understand. And when I do the research and I look at the long-term trends and I look at the success that you're having with not just the channel, but the rip and ships, and then I extrapolate that out to the other rip and ships, and I look at how much less product is on the market because it's getting eaten up from all the breakers on Whatnot and YouTube, and how there's such a demand for this. And then you look at the long-term trend, I see opportunity, and I am willing to put money to work where there is opportunity. And I know that people in the hobby do not like hearing that, but that is the truth.
Yeah. And I mean, look, obviously the high flyers, obviously Amit's plays that he has in Palantir and other companies, or, what's happening with crypto this year. Obviously when you have high flyers like that, you're going to outperform. But as far as every mutual fund, every index fund that I own, Pokemon has outperformed them every single year that I've been investing in it. And there's a couple things about Pokemon. One, every single booster box since the beginning of the series back in 2020, back in 1999 has went up in value. 100% of the time, it's always happened. Two, when you're competing in the stock market, when you're competing in the crypto markets or the equity, the currency markets, you're competing with the smartest people in the world, the best financial minds, companies who literally can pay people to sit there and analyze all of this stuff all day long to come up with the best possible plays. When you come to these collectible markets, 95% of the people are clueless. They're not financial minded. They're not here for the money. They're here to collect, or just as hobbyists, open packs, entertainment. And I think that's why it's just so ripe for opportunity, is because if you are ahead of the ball at all, if you have any type of financial mindset or any type of idea of how markets work, you can easily get ahead of the crowd in this thing.
And I'm going to go a step further. You have a younger generation that's getting involved because of their parents, and their parents are getting involved because of their kids. It works vice versa also. I truly believe, and this may sound crazy because I haven't said this to you privately yet, I think there's a 20-year cycle, if not longer right now. And here's why. you have kids that are probably 8 to 14-ish that are doing this with their parents right now. And their parents who did this when they were a kid, they're getting back into it with more disposable income now. And you also have what you didn't have back then with social media and teenagers seeing that they can potentially make money flipping cards, buying raw, then grading cards, or buying and holding. So there's now a full-blown business aspect and enough content on YouTube to validate that. And I think that that could give you a multi-decade tailwind for this hobby.
All right, that was a sales pitch. So, Amit, how much you want to buy?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. How much? Let's say you had $100,000 portfolio. How much would each of you put into this?
Yeah.
So before we answer that, let's go through the numbers for a minute.
Hold on, before we do that, I do want to say, let's be real clear, right? With everyone like listening, that's, listening to Pokemon for the first time. All right. Pokemon does have some limitations, and not really limitations, but there's definitely downsides, right? One downside is there's not immediate liquidity like a stock or a crypto, right? You do,
which is good because it forces you to hold it. That's actually, not the
right. So you do have to find a buyer. It can take time. You don't have to, go through shipping and that stuff, or just like go in person and sell. But like you said, for anyone that does have those paper hands, for anyone that gets mouse happy and likes to click and sell and buy all the time, it's harder to do that. And so it makes you kind of think out your moves a little more, which can kind of be a benefit. But yeah, I mean, depending on your position size or how much, money you have to invest, I would say that would kind of depend on the percentage of your portfolio, because once you get up to large numbers, then storage can become an issue and things like that. But, as far as a portion of your portfolio, in my opinion, from everything I've seen in the past 10 years I've been in this hobby, the booster boxes seem like one of the safest investment. The crazy part is, in the last 10 years, usually that they're released between $90 to $110. I've never seen any go below like $75, $80. And after 3 years, I've never seen one that isn't higher than release. And so it's just got a 100% track record. As long as you're holding 3 to 5 years, they always go up. Now, different sets go up at different, rates or whatever. But on average, they've outperformed, funds and mutual funds and indexes. Pretty crazy.
And I'll go a step further on that. Nobody should invest in cardboard unless they're in a position to invest in cardboard. And even then, it could be a very bad idea. Just because I am doing it, do not do it. It's something that you have to do because you think it is a good investment for you. For me, it's interesting because I've really studied the market and I have found what I believe is inefficiencies that I can capitalize on. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but for me, looking at the statistical analysis, there are...
Do you want to share the screen?
Yeah, I'm going to share the screen. There are several investments that are really interesting. But once again, you have to be in a position where you're able to do this. Like, to me, this doesn't replace equity portfolios or anything like that. Like, this is something I did way down the road in life. But all right, let me share the PowerPoint.
And another thing, how it kind of is a little different too, is, there's no official market price, right? Because there's a slew of different platforms you can buy on. There's always private deals you can work if you're buying bulk and things. And so, when you're buying on the stock market or a crypto market, you're paying market price. There's no way to undercut anyone or get it at a different price than anyone else, unless you're a company and you have options or something. But with Pokemon, it's just if you understand where to buy, you have money to buy bulk, you can, make different plays, you can actually get in the market already kind of in the green, where that's not really an option in other markets. So that's not
think about it like this. I sent Alex a picture the other day before we get into
dude, numbers. We can't even, how are we gonna know what's going on here?
No, I got 3 other slides after this. This is the main one. I'll break it down very easily. But I sent Alex a snapshot from a local LCS, and they were selling boosters for 119, and I paid 110 cash. And right there, I was in the money because the one that I was buying, last sales were 135. But anyway,
is there any way you can zoom in?
Yeah, I can zoom in. I can make it bigger probably. Is that better?
Better.
So I did XY, Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield because Those are past the 3-year level on most of them. I didn't do Scarlet and Violet yet, but
So we're running it against the VU.
yeah. So if there's a dividend, I should what is it? Dividend reinvestment calculator. I don't remember exactly what the website is, but it has an automatic calculator that just does a $10,000 investment and reinvests all the dividends. So I did that on the same date that these boxes came out. I used the prices that we had discussed before, and XY series, huge movement. And that's going back to 2014. But I mean, you have 4 boxes there that are over 1,000% ROI. And the most ROI in VOO, which is the S&P index fund from Vanguard, 319% versus over 3,000% ROI on Flashfire. You go down to Sun and Moon, it's more of the same. So if we go to here, there's only.
Well, I think the most important thing is, you got to test out the best, but also the worst. So like the worst performing set in XY.
Yes, so
Steam
there's only
Siege.
4 boxes in all these sets that have not outperformed the S&P yet.
Well, what I'm saying is Steam Siege was 304%, and that's the worst performer in that era.
Yeah. And keep in mind, I'm doing the last sale, not even what the current going rate is. So these are all last sales from last night when I updated this. So if you had just bought 1 box of every box since Flashfire, you'd be up 636%. And if you put the same amount of money in VOO on each of those dates, you would only be up 156%. Really,
that's compounding too, right?
That includes VOO's compounding with dividends, yeah. Really think about how crazy that is. And then when you look at it on a, why can't we go to the right? There we go. So XY's average appreciation, just over 1,000% when the S&P went up an average of 254%, putting money in on all those dates.
That's wild.
When you do Sun and Moon, average appreciation 707% versus 154.5% for the S&P. And then for Sword and Shield, which is the more recent one, which is 2020 through 2022, average appreciation is 153%.
Yeah, and the reason the percentages are going and the reason it's down for Sword and Shield is some of these boxes are only literally like 2 years, 3 years old at this point. And so they're just going out of their reprint cycle and they're just starting to age. So, I mean, in the next 2 to 3 years, Sword and Shield is probably going to look a lot more like Sun and Moon.
And you look at what Rudy says, and some people think he's gospel, some people don't like him, but he truly believes that every box in that era is going to be $300 to $500 minimum.
It's looking more and more likely every day.
It is. So when I look at the data, and I looked at the data for the earlier sets, but those are a lot more scarce, so I didn't make the tables for them. But this is a 10-year look back, and we're seeing the data, and the data is in favor of buying booster boxes, holding them and not opening them. And there is a market to get out of them, whether you want to go trade them back to an LCS that you have a relationship with for either cash or a new product. You want to sell it on eBay. You want to go through a consignment on eBay, or you want to go to a show. There are many avenues to get out of this. It's not as easy as selling a stock, but I think that the market is inefficient, and there's a lot more money coming into the market now, in my opinion.
What do you mean by the market's inefficient?
I think that there's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. And unlike the equity market, you have a lot of people, kids, just ripping packs because they like the cards. And every pack that gets ripped decreases the supply of sealed product. So every day that goes by, I mean, Alex, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but how many, on average, you go through a fair amount of cases during your rip and ships, correct?
I would say I am a very mid-level streamer. I'm definitely not any of the top guys, and I usually go between 800 to 1,200 packs a night, and I stream about 3 nights a week.
What is a rip and ship?
So rip and ship is you buy the packs, and I rip them live on a live stream, and then
Who
it's fun
buys
and
them? Who
entertaining.
buys them?
Anybody, Alex's
You do.
followers.
So,
But do you get paid if I buy them?
yeah, you're buying the pack, and then I'm ripping it and I'm shipping you all the cards.
Got it.
So instead of you going to the store and buying it on your own, you just buy it through Alex's website. You watch the show, and he does some cool stuff on the stream, and then you get your stuff a couple days later.
And so it's basically like, once a set's like 2, 3, 4 years old, they're no longer on the store shelves. You can't find them anywhere else but online. And you may not want to pay $500 for a booster box, but you may want to buy 3, 4, 5 packs and try to gamble to hit that $500 card. And so that's kind of how rip and ships kind of work.
So if Alex is going through 800 to 1,200 packs on an average rip and ship, and he's doing 3 of those a week, and then you have everybody else who's doing the same thing, going through more in some cases, less in other cases, there is a tremendous amount of product outside of individual consumers being ripped on a weekly basis, decreasing the supply of sealed product. And that is why I really think that it's an inefficient market in the sense that people don't necessarily understand what is happening, and sealed product could go even more haywire over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, think of it as like if the stock you were holding every single like year, they just they took they took shares off the market.
Yeah,
there was less and less active shares traded.
But the stuff you're ripping and shipping, is it actually like you're not ripping and shipping 1999 OG cards, right?
Some people do. Some people do that, yeah, and it's extremely expensive. You have to have kind of really niche audience for that. So I stick to some of the newer stuff, but some of the boxes I rip are, $1,000 boxes, and we'll sell the packs for $35. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's just kind of like anything. It's the gamble of trying to pull that big chase. Because let's say there's a $800 or $1,000 card. Well, you don't want to try to rip $1,000 box to pull $1,000 card, but you may want to try to rip 2 or 3 packs. And then, you'll see somebody else rip 2 or 3 packs and they get nothing. And so you're thinking, well, the next one, the hit must be coming. So people will buy in, and it's kind of it gets the juices flowing type thing.
Okay, so before we keep going through the numbers of this, I want to step back and why do people care about Pokemon? Because I understand why people buy a Michael Jordan card. He's had a big brand, his legacy, 6-0 in the finals, right? You feel something there. Is the idea of buying Pikachu because in the next 30 years, kids are still going to care about it? Because easily, I feel like I could make an argument that no one will care about Pokemon in the next.
This is why right here. So Pokemon is the largest grossing media franchise in the entire world. They do 98.9 billion. They're bigger than Mickey Mouse and Friends, Winnie the Pooh, Star Wars. They're bigger than every single, pop culture franchise that's around today. And so what I'm saying is, well, if Looney Tunes or if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or if, Transformers, if all of these things are still relevant, all of these would probably have to start falling off before the largest one in the world did. I mean, Pokemon by itself does like more than a lot of these other large franchises all combined. So that's kind of what Pokemon has going for it, is it's not just the cards. They have the video games. They have the show. They have, the cell phone games now. It's like they just have their hands in every bit of the market type thing.
So is there a world where in the next 30 years people grow out of it, or you think people will keep carrying on the media idea of it?
I mean, kind of like what Steve said. It just seems like, it's being passed on to the next generation already. Like all of us that grew up with it are now having kids, and we're raising our kids opening Pokemon product. I mean, I know a lot of times in my stream, people will put in the notes, hey, I'm buying this for my son or for my daughter. Make sure to shout out their name or something. Right. And it's also why, I have a smaller channel, maybe almost 20,000 subscribers, but there's large channels in the Pokemon space with 1-2 million subscribers. And a lot of those subscribers are children, and they show up to watch the packs being opened. And even if they fall out of it in their middle school or high school or college years, history has kind of shown us a lot of people kind of go back and, rekindle their childhood, collections or things when they get older and want to kind of, feel that again. So, I mean, I think it's just going to come in stages.
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. What's your feeling about it, man? Is that kind of your hesitancy? Is like the idea
No,
that it might just not be around?
I'm not even hesitant about that. I just asked it because I'm curious. Like it kind of sounds like people are willing to pay for it because they feel a Pokemon card has intrinsic value, and they feel that because of all the nostalgia and everything you mentioned. So it's just a natural question of like, well, what if one day they wake up and they don't care anymore about it? Just like, what if one day you wake up and think Bitcoin doesn't matter, right? Like, how does the market react?
Are we gonna get into crypto talk?
No, it's just a comparison, right? Like, what if one day everyone wakes up and says Bitcoin is stupid? Right. I think Pokemon actually has a better argument because there's so much nostalgia, whereas Bitcoin, there's like no nostalgia. It's just Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, I think there's always a risk of that with this. And I think there's a risk of people as they become in their later teens falling out of it. But at the same time, this time around, there's more of a business aspect to it. And people are able to make money with it. And they weren't able to do that 10, 20 years ago. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. And another thing to think about is if you look at gemrate.com, and I know Alex has the data, but there's a whole grading aspect. Now, with sports cards and Pokemon cards, Magic cards is grading. In the past 30 days, there was 1.2 million cards sent into grading companies, which is crazy. I mean,
no, that's just PSA.
That's just PSA. It's just PSA. Crazy. PSA graded yesterday almost 58,000 cards.
But that's not the big thing. The
pie
look at the top thing being graded.
TCG.
It's trading card games, which is
and
Pokemon.
In the past month, it's about 45%. They've done 571,000 cards. So think about this a minute. 571,000 cards at a minimum of $20 a card got graded last month with PSA.
But also that's more than baseball, basketball, and football combined.
Yes. And that's just with PSA. You add CGC in there. CGC is predominantly TCG cards. And the amount of money that's getting spent on preserving these cards and grading them, you don't grade unless one, you're trying to flip and sell, or two, you're trying to enhance the value of your cards long term. And the amount of money that's going into that, because any card with a value of more than, I believe, $499 has an upcharge on it. So the amount of money that's going into the grading side also tells me there's more and more and more capital going into this for an investment or business standpoint, because you're not grading just to grade. This is a business play when it comes to grading.
Makes sense.
Alex, can you just grab a graded card from behind you to show him what a graded card looks like?
So basically they just slab it. They just put it in the slab, and that way, it's protected, and it's authenticated. So they authenticate it for you, so you're not dealing in counterfeit cards and all that, and then they assign a grade to it, so that way you're not there, both of you trying to decide what kind of condition it is. They have a third party grade it, so it's easier to transact, right? Like how much a 10 is worth on the market, or a PSA 9 based on the the quality, and so it's easier to transact. There's a lot of benefits to grading.
And that it's real because there is a set registry on PSA's website or CGC's website. You can put the serial code into it and make sure the card checks out and everything. It is a lot harder to fake product like this. And when you look at how big, Alex, how big is Collecticon?
Man, I don't know how big. All I know is every year they've grown. I think they have 15 or 18 events this year across the country. And they get thousands and thousands of.
Can you go to Google and just pull up a picture of Collecticon to show them what it looks like?
Yeah.
The card shows are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, even with sports, it's insane. I was at one 2 months ago. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, this is definitely a thriving. That's Steve Aoki.
Yeah, Steve Aoki, DJ.
Yeah, they had a bunch of people this year. They had who they have at some Tech 9 at one of them. They had the Yin Yang Twins perform one. Steve Aoki.
Yeah, this is a pretty thriving community of people that care.
Great word.
And yeah, so I forget how many they have. They have like events every couple weeks though, and
Go
every
to
one of
Jersey
them
one
end
real
up
quick.
like
Where is that?
thousands of
That center?
members. Like the tables. Put it this way: like every time they release vending tables for like you to sell stuff as a vendor, they sell out within like hours or a day of it being announced. It's really crazy.
I mean, Amit, think about this. They're doing it at the Expo Center in Jersey. Think
Yeah,
about how big that place is.
it's a big place. Okay, so then here's another question. The asset. How do you price a card? Like, is it like
the
wine?
$1,000,000 question.
Is it
That's
like
a $1
wine?
million question. It's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
No, but like a card that's issued today can't be worth as much as a 1999 card, right?
I mean,
Yes and no.
it
So
depends what card. I mean, think about Surging Sparks. That's the latest set. What are those Pikachus going for?
yeah, so it really has to do with obviously how much of the set's printed, but also how hard the cards are to hit. You know, kind of like sports now, they're making the serialized cards. Like Pokemon hasn't gone that route yet, but you know, with these newer sets, it might be 1 out of 1,500 or 2,000 packs to hit a card. Whereas back in the 90s, they were much easier to hit, but now they're much more scarce because we all played with them as kids. No one kept them nice, so they're much harder to find. But they weren't actually harder to pull. And so like there are some modern cards that have more value than some of the older cards. Now, some of like the top tier older cards are still some of the most expensive in the hobby, but there's definitely more factors than just like the age is definitely kind of the rarity. Or is it released at like a certain event? Was it like a special giveaway type thing? Only certain many were printed or created. So it really depends, man. It's kind of a circumstantial situation.
Yeah,
I mean, you can go to a website called TCG Player and you can see graphs of the past year of booster boxes or cards and their movement. And I mean, it's pretty interesting to see what's going on with some of these boxes. And for the past year or two, it's been a race to the bottom when these new sets have come out. And you were able to pick up sets for 95 to 105 on eBay. And it feels like those days are over. But people who purchased Paldea Evolved at $100 a box from P Football Pete, I mean, that box is trading for what, 135, 140 now? That area?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'm trying to speak to Amit because, you know, coming from his Palantir trades and I'm sure other trades he's made, it's definitely, I would say it's somewhere between like a mutual fund index fund and like, you know, making successful trades or option trades and things like that. It's not going to be as a high flyer or something like that, but right. I feel like it's much safer. Like I said, the booster boxes, you're not going to see, especially after 2 to 3 years, after all the reprints and things are over, you're not going to see those major swings. It's not something you have to worry about your money every day where you might wake up and be down 20%, right? The market moves, you know, it moves up, but it moves slowly, more methodically. It's not something where like you're going to have to like worry about the fluctuations on every day, week, or month. But over time, it's had continuous growth. It'll have times of extreme growth, times of stagnation, but very little time after the first 2 to 3 years where it actually has major falls, more than like 5 or 10%, or just going stagnant flat.
But the Pokemon themselves are valuable, right? Like,
cards, yeah.
So like a Pikachu is like, why is a Pikachu? What's another example of a Pokemon besides? Because
like a Charizard.
I was going to say Charmander or something. Charizard. Okay, so like, why are those two more valuable than other Pokemon?
You know, it's kind of like in sports, like the best player is valuable. It's like the most popular characters that were either used by the main characters or were the strongest in the shows. Those are like the strongest in the games. Those are the ones people flock to. So that's kind of one. It's kind of sort of the same reason.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, that's one of the other cool things is like, you know, with sports, the players you grew up with, like they age out and they retire. And then, you know, depending on what you have going on in your life, maybe you don't ever draw a connection to the new players like you did with the old ones. And that's kind of why, like, I feel like the sports market can fluctuate a lot more than Pokemon, whereas Pokemon never changes. No one gets hurt. No one gets caught beating their wife for a drug problem or gets kicked out of the league or retires. It's like Charizard is the same Charizard it was 25 years ago. Pikachu is the same Pikachu. And so I think that's one of the kind of redeeming qualities of the hobby as well, is it never changes.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, you guys sold me on it. There's a passionate community And
So funny, man. Hey, I did my job. Steve said that was my job tonight, so I tried.
Yeah, I mean, look, my strategy is to buy product from every set that comes out because I have no idea what is going to be a high flyer and what isn't. And then in 5 to 10 years from now, I get out of it. And it's just an alternative asset class, just like gold or silver, that you can put in your hand. And there's a huge market for it. And I think that it's only going to get bigger from here on out because I don't believe people understand the money that is coming into this hobby because of how much attention it's getting and how many eyeballs are on it. I don't think people really grasp, and I get it because I have information from a store the way Alex does about how quickly things are flying off the shelves or stores sell out of product without even putting it on the shelf. I mean,
People wait for there's videos coming out of Costco's, like right when they drop the pallet, people just like jump on and clear it out. It's like a plague of locusts in like 5 minutes.
It's crazy. I mean, I was lucky enough where we have a very good relationship. I mean, I paid $650 for a case of Surging Sparks. And that was after it had already gone to $900 a case.
Yeah.
By the time I actually got around to getting it. So, I mean, it's interesting. And look, it is a market that continues to have more capital come in. Everybody is saying that the allocations were less for the upcoming set. And I know nothing about Pokemon at all. That's what's the best thing for me. I could care less about it. I have no ambition to open it. It can legitimately sit there and collect dust for 10 years and I could care less. And people hate when I say that, but it's the truth. It's strictly an investment for me.
Yeah, I think one people like, I mean, like with anything, right? Any high net worth individual, anyone starts making money, I feel like since the beginning of time, basically, people have always put money into unregistered assets, whether it be high-end artworks, high-end wines, watches, collectible, vintage cars, war memorabilia, antiques. It's just, I feel like Pokemon cards is just one of those things for our generation. And as more and more of us like move up in the world to like more higher level positions where we're making more money, as a lot of the higher, level, executives retire, as more of us create businesses and rise up, as all of us get more successful, I just feel like this is going to be one of those classes where people choose to put their money above things like people did in the past, like the artwork and the wine, all the other junk that people used to collect. I feel like, maybe video games, another one, but like, I just feel like Pokemon cards being the largest franchise worldwide is going to be one of those major asset classes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think the excitement around the community is big. I mean, I've heard of the community before this podcast, and I've seen videos go viral and all this stuff. Like when you've got that much of a thriving group of people, I've experienced it with Palantir, right? You got so many people interested in the stock, and new people getting interested in the stock, and then there's all this content being made about the stock, the company, etc. People want to buy into the vision, and they don't really care about anything else other than being part of that community. So, I think you're right.
What's your story, by the way? How did you become this leader of the army, man? Like, how did you get into Palantir to begin with?
I read Steve's Seeking Alpha articles.
Wait, you got in because of Steve?
No. I'm not going to give him that much credit. I'm not going to give him.
No, we met through the Palantir community. So we were in a research chat group together.
Yeah, I started buying it March 2021. It started really getting interested in November 2021. And then I saw Alex Karp, the CEO, speak. And I did philosophy and debate in high school. So like my mind is very, very oriented to continental analytical philosophy. Like it's, people have hobbies. I like philosophy. I like watching philosophy videos, all this stuff. And so Karp is this philosophical, literally philosophy PhD running a tech company. And so when he started talking about Western values and started quoting these German philosophers, I was like, who the heck is this guy? And then he got deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I was like, oh, this is interesting.
So you just made the bet on the CEO more than the company.
Yeah, because I didn't understand what the hell the company did. I had like a very elementary understanding of it. I had an elementary understanding of like an ontological understanding of what your data looks like for an enterprise to derive business value. But Karp was the guy. And then the stock fell 80% and I was down 50 grand. And I was like, I need to learn more about what I'm holding, right? And so you just go through that process. You make the videos. No one else. It was kind of like, it was supply and demand, right? There was no supply on YouTube of daily Palantir content. It was the only stock in my portfolio at the time. It's the only thing I cared about. there was a ton of demand because everyone else was bag holding. And so I kind of just stepped in and I made a video every day, and that kind of created the community.
Well, what were you doing before all this, though?
I had a public speaking consulting firm, which I still have today, but I don't have as many clients. And my background is public speaking and debate. So I was a debate champion in high school. And as soon as I graduated college, I started teaching public speaking.
I was going to say, to be able to lose 50 grand, you had to have some pretty good money at that time to be able to put into it.
Not pretty good money, but I had money I was making every month, right? I had enough to pay my bills. But it was at the peak. It was at December 2022. That's when it was really, down 50 grand. It was nasty. But, and then as the stock starts coming back up from 6 to at this point 70, which has gotten a lot of people in sticky situations with derivatives that cover the value.
Well, look at this guy trying to call me out without calling me.
Look, I know I've been in there as well. My Roth IRA, Palantir covered calls, all that stuff. But
Steve, how stuck are you right now?
He's stuck. I'm
gonna have to write a check for a lot of money. Let's just say that.
How many times have you rolled over your options?
I still have another out on the table, but no, there's enough time where I can let some more chains open up, most likely, and I can get out. It's not gonna kill me. It's not gonna hurt me. But I gotta spend money to protect profit at this point.
I just rolled my dad's. My dad had $60 calls for September 2025. And he had PS200 shares. We rolled them to 120 January 2027. We paid the stupid $1,400 and we said, you know what? If it goes to 120, it goes to 120. So I think we should be good for the next 2 years.
Yeah, would you get paid on those?
We didn't get paid. We paid $1,400.
No. But I know you had paid in cash. But what did you get paid on?
Well, we've lost a lot of money on this because we had $40 covered calls for December 20th that we wrote in February because we didn't think it was going to go to 40. And then we rolled it to 50 in April, and we rolled it to 60 in September. And now we're just saying, fuck it, let's go to 120.
You know what I'm saying? What did somebody pay you for the 120 when you wrote that leg of it?
Well, it was worth $700, and we had 200 shares, so 1,400 we paid. So I guess it was worth 700. But again, we're closing the original one. So I'll tell you right now, the actual value of that 120.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I have to roll at some point soon.
Dude, I think you should go to 120, and then if it gets there, just say screw it. But it'll keep you the most safe. 120s are going. They're going for 1575 right now.
That's crazy. That's great for me because that's 1570 a share. I don't have to spend to roll. So, yeah, it's wild what Palantir's done. Wild.
But the point is, when it went from 6 to 70 over the past 2 years, there's been such a community and. The community ended up coming. In communities, there has to be a go-to place where you go when there's a big thing. And so for Palantir, we've got so many big things. S&P inclusion was the biggest thing in the past couple months. And my channel just ended up being the place where everyone went to. And, it turned into this big thing. I got to meet the CEO, all this stuff. And so it's exciting.
It's amazing. You started a YouTube channel talking about a stock. And Steve tells me you're getting flown out to events now, meeting the CEO.
I said he's flying out to cover Palantir.
Yeah, they have not paid me a single dollar, though.
He flies out to AIPCon. You can go on YouTube and he's ran panels at Palantir conference. It's incredible. So proud of him. It's incredible.
It's pretty sick, man. You got to admit, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. He does such a good job with these panels that he runs at the conferences. It's crazy. And then if you go to his Twitter page, he's doing content at the Army-Navy game with them. It's crazy.
Well, I think
good question. Rob, should we care about weight of unopened Pokemon packs, or is that just a rumor? Definitely more of a thing. Okay, so guys, more of a thing with vintage. So back in the day, people, they would just package the cards all the same, and people figured out you could actually weigh the packs down to the gram, and the hollow cards, the ones that are special, right? Those ones would actually weigh more. And so people would open boxes, weigh out all the packs, keep all the heavy ones that have the hit cards in them, and sell off all the light packs. Pokemon's taking steps now to use different weighted code cards and things like that to make sure that it's very hard to weigh. Some people still claim you can. Some people say you can't. It's much less of a problem now. And then especially if you get full boxes, sealed boxes, that's going to be the best way to go. Sealed cases. But yeah, you could always run the risk of people, thinking that on the loose packs. But so as long as you stay with boxes or cases, you're fine.
Yeah, I think it's more of a thing in sports cards now with weighing for patch cards and stuff like that, because obviously a patch or relic card is going to have a much different weight than a regular paper card. So Think it's
Well,
more
now
than
people are
that.
using talking about using CT scanners like they do at like hospitals,
Yep.
running the packs through CT scanners to see if the serialized cards in there, and then selling off the rest that don't have it. There's a lot of crazy things that are going on right now.
Brave new world.
I mean, if you look back though, and like all the scandals that have went on forever, they've never heard the hot. It's like they're always kind of like a news story for a few days, a few weeks, a month, and then they kind of fade out, and all the market goes back to normal.
Well, and think about how much some of these sports stuff is going for. I mean, a 52 mantle PSA 10, I believe, sold for 180 grand back in the 90s, and now it's going for 30 million.
I mean, it reminds me of the market today, right? Powell comes out, says they're not going to cut the rates they thought they were, and the market, drops 1,000 points, but then everyone's going to realize, oh, wait, the economy's still strong, and I'm sure it'll just recover, and we'll forget all about this,
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a very interesting asset class that has a very good track record. And as a diversification tool into something tangible, to me, it makes sense. And I am very data driven. And when I compare it to investing in an S&P index fund, it is not a replacement for an S&P index fund for me. It is a additional diversification tool that allows me to have a completely different asset class that I can do several things with down the road.
I like it. And okay, so how do I buy one of these things? Well, hold on. Before that, why is Pokemon ever going to start an NFT version of these?
So before we get to that, somebody in your chat just said 52 mantle has zero liquidity. I promise you, if you have a 52 mantle, you could sell it within an hour. It absolutely.
What is a 52 mantle?
It's arguably one of the most coveted collectible item there is. It's the holy grail of baseball cards, and there have been numerous offers. There's only 3 in existence of a PSA 10, not many PSA 9s, and I think the last sale was an SGC, or the last public sale was an SGC 9 for like $12.5 million. If you have a high-grade mantle, it'll sell immediately.
When people say zero liquidity, what they mean is at the price the person wants, right? It'd be like this. It'd be like you owning something that is legitimately worth, let's say, 30 million, and you wanting 100 million. And because no one's paying you 100 million, people are saying there's zero liquidity. Where in reality, if you brought it anywhere near what the real price is, it would sell like that. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's kind of like this. If you go list Palantir right now and try to put your shares on sale at $100, you're gonna have zero liquidity. It's not gonna sell.
Someone's gonna buy them. Someone will buy them.
People are buying options for 120. I mean, people bought the right to buy Amit shares for 120. So
here's the real question. We have to get out of Pokemon for a second. The real question is Palantir or XRP?
Steve, you know what the answer is. Don't even.
Which one?
Yeah, I mean, look,
Steve, you know what the answer is. Don't hesitate. Say one word, then continue.
Yeah, it's Palantir.
So we're just making sure.
Yeah, no, okay. I'm not.
That is not what he told me off screen.
Really?
He's messing with you.
So a bunch of people get on the stream, and now you gotta lie.
Look, I am bullish on XRP facilitating a cross-border payment solution. I have no idea what it's going to go to. It may not go up anymore. Who knows? Palantir, even though the valuation is absolutely ludicrous, in my opinion, 10 years from now, I believe it's higher than it is today by quite a bit. I mean, it's the only answer is Palantir.
Here's another question. I could give you 50,000 XRP coins at 20 cents, which is your average right now,
okay.
Or I could give you 10,000 Palantir shares at 75. Which one would you hold over the next 10 years?
Can I get Excel open and run some models?
Go ahead. Do what you got to do. 10,000 shares of Palantir at 75. That's where you're starting from. Versus
how many years?
10 years, I guess, a decade.
Or 50,000 at 20 cents?
At 20 cents.
10's scary. That 10-year hold, I don't know, man.
I mean, if it's going to be the cross-border facilitating of the blah, 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 10 years should be okay.
I think I would take Palantir with the 10-year time frame.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to pull up an
If it
Excel
was like a
sheet to run any
3-year time
numbers.
frame-
I would take Palantir really quickly too. You know,
But
If it was like a 3-year time frame, I think I might try
hold
XRP.
on.
Steve, this
See,
is
you
not worth
say
doing the
that.
numbers. It's not worth doing the numbers, Steve. It's not worth it.
You
It's
say
a stock
that,
of
but
a real
hold on,
company versus a token.
Hold on. You say that, but you said 50,000 XRP tokens at 20 cents.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, right now, that's worth 125 grand on a $10,000 investment. You're already up 115,000, and you're giving it another 10 years.
Correct.
Whereas Palantir, you're starting 50K behind where
Correct.
you already currently are. So there are things to consider there. But at the same time, I think it is more realistic, even though I am bullish on XRP, that Palantir continues to go up over a decade. So even though I'm starting 50,000 behind, I mean,
You got to pick one.
wait, did you say 1,000 or 10,000 shares?
I said 10,000 shares.
Oh, hold on.
That makes it
That's different.
750 grand. But
That's
that's
different
irrelevant.
because that's 750 grand.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant. What's more relevant is which one do you think will appreciate more in 10 years?
Well, no, because now I'm starting way more ahead on Palantir. I thought you said 1,000 shares. With the numbers you gave, you have to go Palantir because you're already in it so much more ahead. XRP's got to do so much more just to get where you are. And even if
Yeah, but the reason I said 10,000 shares is because if you think Palantir is grossly expensive, that 75 could go to.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That even
Right,
if it gets cut in half over the next year or two, in 10 years from now, I would still think Palantir gets to a 250, 300 billion valuation, if not more. So you would still be at around 1.5 million on the investment.
But if XRP goes to 100 and you have 50,000.
Yeah, but once again, there's no financials there, and there's more things that have to go right for XRP to do that than for Palantir to do it.
I think the thing with crypto, man, like, I don't even know where I stand on it. I just feel like the crypto bros, they get on this like crazy bandwagon and they just start calling out numbers and they don't take into account the market cap these coins would have when they hit these crazy numbers. Like, you are talking trillions and trillions of dollars. You are talking more capital than some of the largest hedge funds in America have invested in them. And it's like, it's all going to be wrapped up in one of these coins. That blows my mind, man.
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree. Okay, so NFTs, what's the future of that in Pokemon?
Okay, so it's been tried by some creators. Now, I don't think it's been tried by Pokemon itself. It's been tried by some creators to attach an NFT to like a Pokemon like type NFT to like
Gary Vee's the biggest example.
Like Logan Paul. Logan Paul tried it back in like 2021 or so. And it hasn't, I don't think it's gone over too well. I think it kind of died off with a lot of the other NFTs back then. So
what if the Pokemon like franchise started them?
Yeah, I know. I don't think that's been done though. So I'm not sure. They did just come out with a Pokemon. So it's kind of caused, there's a lot of things going into it, but it's one of the things that's caused a lot of the run right now is they came out with a new app on the iPhone and Android called Pokemon Pocket. And it's like a way to, collect, trade, open packs on that. And that's been very popular. It's got millions of downloads. And so like, it's kind of that, I guess, that first footstep into that NFT type world. We're getting digital now. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not big on NFTs for the simple fact that the NBA tried it, MLB tried it, it didn't work. And people don't want to look at a picture of a card that they may or may not own on their phone when you can just actually take a picture of that card. To me, what's the difference? And I know that that's a very rudimental way of thinking about it, but when it comes to these things, I think people really want the asset in their hand. And while NFTs may work for some things, I don't think that digitized cards is a market that is going to work.
All right. That's fair.
I mean, that's got a question for you, man. Like, what's the YouTube strategy been for you, man? Like, while I got you here, I got to at least get some advice from you. I mean, what do you think's led to like the extreme growth of your channel lately? Is it just the Palantir rise, or I mean, what things have you done like to really expedite the growth of it?
I think there's two things. There was definitely a low moment in 2022, obviously, when the entire stock market was down, because like the channel is covering the market, not just Palantir. So that changed in 2023, 2024. So that's like a macro trend. Number two, obviously Palantir going from 6 to 70 and being the only, like not the only search result, but one of the top search results. Like when people type in Palantir, that definitely helped. But more importantly, I think, we do a live stream every day, just like you, and we do it in the morning and in the afternoon. And the channel has grown from just being a daily episode on Palantir news to a 2-time daily live stream on market commentary with a focus on Palantir, like where there's always a Palantir segment every day, but there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. And so I think the channel evolved from a guy talking about one stock to me personally getting educated enough, which took a lot of work. There's a lot of reading, a lot of analysis, like you're just 24/7 invested in markets to try to make sure you can condense all the different things that are happening every single day and try to have an opinion that's educated on market dynamics. And so when you do 2 times of streaming a day, you build a community that actually trusts you and wants to use you as their source of information. And so stuff like this, like what you're doing right here with me and Steve, I feel like the strategy for you, instead of just the rip and ships, would be going live and just talking to your audience and your community. Because you get some diehards that really care about you. And then the other thing is not selling out, not doing any stupid shit, grifting, selling dumb shit, scamming people, but just like genuinely wanting to make sure they know how much you appreciate that they're spending their time, which matters more than anything, with you. And then if you do that over time and you do it every single day, the algorithm tends to pick it up, find different audiences, and then you're there.
I mean, me and Steve were talking about it earlier. I'm like, dude, I tuned into Amit's stream earlier, and I'm like, he's got 4,000 people in there just watching the Jerome Powell talk. I'm like, he's not even talking. They're just listening to that. I'm like, he has more people watching than the TV.
Yeah, I mean, for the big events, people tend to show up. And in 2022, when I first started live streaming, there was 40 people. I remember there was 40 people a night. We were doing like late night stock talks. That's what it was called. And the same energy I had when there was 40 people is the same when there's 4,000 people. And now every morning there's close to 3,000 people. And so, it's grown. But like the thing is, the one thing I noticed about content is like when you rely on something for news and information and then partly entertainment from that news and information, people like having a routine.
Yeah.
People don't like finding a bunch of different sources. If they find you and they like you, they're willing to put up with you as long as you're giving them value, and they don't want to find another source of information. So, dude, 3,000 people every morning, at least every other morning, want to listen to Steve when he calls in. Like when Steve calls in, the audience and some of you guys in the chat, they are happy, even if he's grumpy, even if he's like, saying random stuff. Like people love him and his personality, and he's become a character on the show. And I think that only happens if you have a community that's willing to like accept, the foundation and the platform that you built. And I think that's what we have.
Yeah, I feel like, I know Steve doesn't like him, but I feel like who did that really well was Meet Kevin.
Well,
those like daily live streams where you just like, that the market, like opening market recaps every single day, like having that daily audience. I feel like he did a good job at like growing the audience and community that way with his channel. And I know like there's problems with things he's done, but like as far as the YouTube growth, I think it was smart.
I would also add that Amit's done a lot of really good interviews. And I think that that's really added to a lot of things, from investors to CEOs. And he's just done a great job at really getting more personalities on there and expanding the topics that get discussed.
Yeah. In terms of me, Kevin, look, I respect him a lot. I've interviewed him. I went to California, did a podcast with him. I do think he is decided to sell more things to his audience. And I've had people join my stream saying, Amit, I can't listen to Kevin anymore. Every 30 minutes, there's like a pitch. And so I think a lot of people like my stream because I have no ads, no sponsorships. I've never taken $1 from a sponsor. I never will. And so people know they're coming into something that's just no agenda, bias, or anything other than Amit trying to figure out what's going on in the market.
It's organic.
It's really organic. And then number two, what Steve said in terms of diversity of topics. Look, I'm not an expert on the Japanese carry yen trade, but because of my debate background, I know how to condense things and synthesize them and crystallize them and then communicate in a hopefully meaningfully in a meaningful way that like gets the core points of it across. So I'll spend 2 hours in the night before the market open, learn about the yen carry trade so that I don't sound like an idiot on the market open. Sometimes I still do end up sounding like an idiot. And then I can hopefully explain it to the majority of people that don't have the time to like spend 2 hours and learn about it. And I think that's the work.
This is perfect then. All right, Mitt, tear down our Pokemon investment sale, man. Give us all the devil's advocate takes. I want to hear them.
Well, there's not that many. I mean, there's not that many devil advocates. There's a really big community that cares about this product. And so I don't think there's a big devil's advocate. The only devil's advocate I could give would be like a stupid argument about like, well, there's no intrinsic value in it. But I think that's dumb, because if someone's willing to pay for it because they believe in the nostalgia, whatever, all that stuff you talked about, there's plenty of intrinsic value. So I think the passionate community is what's going to keep this alive. Some people care about it more than the Disney franchise, right? And the Disney franchise has a ton of iconic movies and shows. And so I don't really think there's a bear case. The only bear case I would have is figuring out how to select the right Pokemon.
And that's where you don't try to play that game, or at least I know that I'm not smart enough to do that. And that's why I buy every product that comes out. Because
it's kind of like Warren Buffett says, right? It's like, you know, people will ask him like, well, you're not super diversified. It's just like, yeah, but it's better for most other people to just be diversified. And it's kind of how it is with Pokemon. It's like, if you're going to be like me and you're going to like be full time in this industry and dive into everything every day, like, yeah, it's kind of like you with Palantir and some of the stocks you invest in, because you're so in tune with it. But like for the average person that isn't going to spend like half their life researching Pokemon, yeah, I mean, just buying sealed product of every set, sitting on it for a number of years, it's it's been successful. I mean, look, I've only been back in the hobby for 10 years. All I can say is every box since 99's, you know, tremendously up, and every box that I've bought in the last 10 years is all exponentially higher than when I bought it, and it continues to work today. And also if you like take an average of every set per era, there's usually like 12 booster boxes per era. So like 12 in XY, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, now it's Scarlet and Violet. If you take an average of all 12 boxes, they actually outcompete it. Like I said, the mutual funds, the S&P, even with the compounding and the dividends. And so, you know, it's just like another asset to have. It's physical. It's you know, I'm not going to get into all the, you know, stuff the IRS wouldn't like to hear, but you know, there's always benefits to having unregistered assets, you know?
Yeah, you said that, not me. And then there's also what I would correlate to potentially the option market of what Alex does at shows, where he may go buy raw cards for a very undercut price, get a couple of them, send them into PSA. Let's say he buys 10 of the same card that's selling raw for $50 a pop, but if he gets a PSA 10, it could sell for 500, and a PSA 9 sells for 100 to 150. He may come back with 3 or 4 9s and 5 or 6 10s, and he may be able to 5 or 10x his money real quick on a large percentage of that seed capital. So there are a lot of plays for people who know what they're doing and spend a lot of time in this. So there are certainly other ways to skin the cat on this.
Best place to sell Pokemon. You know, man, it's still going to be eBay. eBay's still going to be your largest marketplace. Like, you know, there's other places. Obviously, people are selling on Facebook and Instagram and Discord groups and all of that now. In person, like collecticons or like local shows are good places. But eBay's going to give you your largest customer base. It's going to be the easiest transaction. They do the work of getting all the customers there for you. So all you got to do is put your item up there, and as long as it's reasonably priced, it's going to sell type thing.
And you have protection.
You have buyer protection, seller protection, all that good stuff.
By the way, if anyone cares, Japan just left their interest rates unchanged. So no hike from Japan. So
I still need to read Powell's transcript. I was in meetings when it happened.
Is there any effects on the after hours trading?
Everything's kind of flat.
Well, Bitcoin's up. We just needed Japan to not hike rates. We needed that to happen. So yeah, we're good. Okay, so in the context of selling this thing, I know someone just asked the question, but you're selling this. Is this your like full-time job?
Well, it is for me, but you know, I have a lot of different, you know, arms of the business, kind of like you. YouTube's one of them. But people buying cards and you ripping it, that is like a good source of what you're doing. Yeah. So like part of it is doing the rip and ships. There's profit margin there. The YouTube revenue, which, you know, comes with like affiliate links if I shout products out and people buy them, all that good stuff. And then, like Steve said, the grading the cards. So with grading cards, I mean, the margins can be huge. You know, you can find raw cards like this card right here. Probably like a $20 or $30 card raw, and probably goes for like $150 to $200 in a 10. And so, you know, if you have a good eye and you're able to get a good gem rate, which is a PSA 10 rate, you can see massive margins on cards. And so like with only, 5 or 10,000 invested, you could easily turn that into 20, 30, 40 grand on the high end if you really know what you're doing. And so grading cards is also part of the business. And then, just like the long-term growth of the investments, I'll, every few years, if I see some that are really spiking, I'll sell some of those off. And that's like another form of income. So it's just kind of like pulling from a bunch of different areas to kind of make a full pie.
So is your goal basically to just keep building the brand and become one of the biggest Pokemon influencers? Because the more eyeballs on you, the more, revenue streams.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to become bigger. Like, I probably won't ever become the biggest because, in this space, the largest ones are more of that like pack opening channel that all the kids are gonna watch. It's less, like I said, this space is less like financial minded. It's actually more of a niche, finding people that are into the finance and the investing side in Pokemon. So I know there's a cap to how high my channel can get, but definitely to grow the brand, and then hopefully the hobby does well and the investment grows and that becomes part of it as well.
Yeah, but you still love doing it, and there's enough of them. Like, because I'm asking because the fact that, like, for me to make a Palantir YouTube channel means that the market, the TAM, has to be big enough for people that care about Palantir. And in 2022, it was maybe 100,000 people. Now I would say it's a couple million people, and in the next 10 years, maybe it's like 100 million people that care about it.
So what was your plan back then? Was it like a hobby, or was it your plan?
No, it was just a hobby. I liked enjoying content. I wanted to create content. I've always wanted, I wanted to be a YouTuber since 2009. Like, I did random YouTube channels, and then I fell in love with the stock market. I was like, I like content. Let me just try this out. And then I got 1,000 subscribers in like 19 days. And I was like, oh, there's like demand for this content and the way I communicate it, even though I barely understood what I was talking about. And then you just go with it. But the fact that you're able to do this means that the TAM is big enough for you to feel there's so many people that would be interested. I mean, if there's channels that have 1 million subscribers, like most finance channels barely have 100,000, 200,000. There's like 2 finance channels that have 1 million, right? So the fact that there's multiple Pokemon channels that have 1 million means that your market's big enough, and the algorithm on YouTube's big enough to find more people that would like your content, which means you can keep growing it.
For sure.
Which tells me as an investor that there's a lot of people interested in this thing.
Well,
and like I said, if I can stay on the test of time and keep this going for a while, I think a lot of the kids that are growing up and they're watching a lot of kind of those like pack ripping channels, eventually they may get in the finance side and find channels like mine, and maybe like channels like this have a better back end growth in the years to come.
Yeah, there's a comment from Tesla that is
Her name
hilarious.
is Tess. Her name is Tess. Just call it Tess. That's what she
Okay.
said.
Hilarious. Steve found a little business Pokemon group, not just fans. Haha, bottom dollar people. Hilarious.
Wait, which one is it? I'm trying to find.
It was at 958. Hilarious.
Steve found a little business Pokemon. Yeah, 858.
Here it is. Steve found a little business Pokemon group, not just fans, bottom dollar people. Damn.
What's also really important, though, is that even if the channel doesn't get to 1 million subs or whatever, it's the same thing I think of in finance. It's how dedicated is your community, right? Because if you have 50,000 people that really love you versus 1 million people that barely check out your content, that's also very, very important. And so I think building that niche community, really matters.
When did you go full time in this?
January 2024, beginning of this year.
Was it a thing where did you like not like what you were doing, or was it just kind of
I mean, I had a startup that I was working on as well. We couldn't find product market fit on that startup. So by December 2023, I remember, Steve, you probably remember, it was this time last year.
You and I had that long conversation about it.
I was like, Steve, I'm at a crossroads in life. I want to do this, but I also think I'm going to be better at this, and I'm not succeeding at this. And I don't know if I'm going to succeed in this being YouTube, but I think I can. And Steve was like, you got to go with your gut here. And my gut told me to go all in on YouTube. Because, dude, I've been a content creator my whole life, but I've never professionally created content on the internet. I was creating content through being on the debate team, because you're literally creating content. You're just
one sec. We got breaking news. Matt Money is in the chat, and he gifted 5 memberships.
Matt, I appreciate you, brother. Is that
Matt? No. We're not going to appreciate Matt here.
Is that one of your guys?
No, because Matt's up like 400% on one stock. And for him to give a measly 5 memberships, I mean, goodness gracious. If you're going to swing
Matt, don't listen to him. Everything's appreciated.
If you're going to swing your dick around, then swing your dick around. Don't at least do 20, Matt. Okay? Can we
I will say, Matt has started buying booster boxes of Pokemon cards.
Dude, I need to bring him to one of the pack break streams. I need him to do that to the pack openers. You're only buying 3 packs. Throw 20 on there. Come on,
What
get
the
the
fuck is
credit
wrong
card
with
out.
you?
Get your wife's credit card.
No, obviously I'm kidding. I love Matt. Matt was on my channel today. But see, Matt's another figure of my
Matt's great.
community. Yeah, Matt was in my community. He was on. There's 2,500 people just listening to Matt because they care about his thoughts. And I think the more people you can get in your community that people love, the more you can actually keep building because you've got people to always talk to and engage with as well.
And Alex,
Absolutely,
I think what's interesting with the Pokemon community is you look at what PokeNE has done. Look, Cool Ryan Trainers videos come up in my feed and PokeRev, and I don't even watch their channels. I've gone to their videos like once or twice, and it's just crazy the amount of views they get and the backstory with them. And that's another reason why I'm so bullish on this going forward, because of these backstories and how it's not slowing down. I mean, if you could, I think Amit would get a kick out of their backstory, PokeRev and Cool Trainer Ryan.
I don't know their backstory.
Isn't there a backstory that they bought out a bunch of stores when they were
absolutely,
going under, and then they just started doing the YouTube and ripping all that stuff and gained a huge following, started going around to conventions and stuff?
I mean, honestly, I feel like most people in this hobby have just like humble beginnings like that and kind of start from the ground up. And it's just, Pokemon's one of those things where it's kind of like I said before, the markets are very, trying to figure out the right word for it. They're unoptimized, right? They're very unoptimized. And if you really dive into it deep and like learn more than most others know, and you have more of a financial market mindset, it's like I said, I hate using the word easy, but as long as you're putting the time in, it's very easy to get ahead in this hobby because again, all the sharks, they're on Wall Street. Like they're in the cryptos. They're doing real jobs. They're building startups. They're building techs and apps and stuff. They're not in Pokemon. So
businesses that have been created is incredible.
What's that?
The amount of people that have created businesses around this is incredible.
Well,
and
it's because it doesn't take much to get ahead of the average person in this hobby because, they're just not, again, they're just here for entertainment or they just don't like, I mean, Steve, we talked about it, the emails I get. Like, I read one on my videos.
Can we address that, please? Can I address that?
Yeah.
Wait, you got an email that pissed you off?
No, I get these emails of people wanting to like start up businesses in the hobby, and like the questions they're asking are like, Steve, take it away, man. Give your take.
Yeah. So for anybody emailing Alex, and I know PokeNE gets these letters. I heard him talking about the same exact thing I'm about to talk about now yesterday. So I actually listened to his stuff. He's very knowledgeable. Don't know him, but very knowledgeable. But there's people, and look, I joke about it with somebody who through phone conversation to Alex, and I've joked about it with Amit, not really joking, like very loosely saying that I would like to open up a sports card shop or a TCG shop. And I don't, but I could type thing. Whereas you have people, and I don't because I know I don't have the time to dedicate to it. I know that it'll be a losing venture. And it is just not worth the aggravation to me. And there are so many people that see what everybody else is doing and think that they're going to make so much money doing this, and they should take their life savings and do it. If you don't have the stomach for it, or you have to go into debt to do it, may not be the best idea, because people don't realize starting an LGS store, you have so many fixed costs, rent, insurance, electricity, internet. You're probably signing a triple net lease. So any repairs are on you. The taxes for the building are on you. There are so many expenses that you have to come up with every month. And you got to think about it as how much product do you have to sell a month just to cover your monthly nut? Do you need employees? Do you have to pay payroll tax? Do you have to pay insurance, healthcare insurance for your employees? I mean, the laws are different in every state. There are so many things to consider. And for people to send people that are running a certain type of Pokemon business and ask them if they should start a store, if you have to ask, most likely the answer is no, don't do it. Because the amount of LGSs that have gone out of business over the years is probably pretty high. And just use round numbers. Let's just say your overall rent and all your other expenses are 10 grand a month. Depending on what state you're in, that may be low, maybe high. We're going to use an average. How many booster boxes do you have to sell and packs do you have to sell to hit 10 grand just to break even? Keep in mind, this is a low margin business. So it's just, I find it crazy when people send those emails in. Like, I have an undergrad in economics and MBA. I know that I could, if I really put everything into it, my time, I could do it. I know that I don't have the time to put into it, so I'm not going to do it. And even though I think I can do it, and I say I know I can do it, it still may not work out. I mean,
well, basically, you're saying if you're going to do a business, you got to really work your ass off to do it.
It's all or nothing. If you're going to go into business for yourself, it is all or nothing, and you cannot go in half cocked. You can't go in.
Did you say half? Did you say half cocked?
Yeah.
That's
an expression.
Half cocked?
You never heard that expression? You don't throw a punch half cocked. You freaking whatever.
Half of a
no. Cock? Oh my god. Okay, half-assed. I didn't want to curse, but you understand.
I feel like half is better than
whatever. So basically, you really have to be in a position where you have enough liquidity to ride out the bad times. And it can't be, I got 25 grand or 50 grand to get this going, because what happens if you don't get traffic in your store? What happens if you don't sell enough product in a month?
Steve, you're describing being an entrepreneur. It's tough. Like anyone if you're emailing someone, how do I start this business? You like have no idea what it takes.
You've already failed.
Here's the problem. All right, I'll tell you the problem. So from the finance space, you guys know how it is, right? You go in these finance groups, or if you're in like these Discords, whatever, and it's like the Instagramification of investing. Everyone shows their wins, right? They show these gigantic wins. No one shows how their portfolios performed over the last month and all the losses they've taken when they're trading. And it's like Pokemon. These stores get on here and they show their sales number. I did this many sales this month. And it's like, dude, that 50 grand in sales, your actual profit margin you made off the sales, then after all your expenses, you made like $1,000 probably. And they don't say that though. Like they don't tell you, hey, I sold $1 million this year, and after everything was said and done, I made as much as your average person working in an office, not having to deal with any of this BS. And that's the reality of this business. It's very low margin. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of growth to actually replace a salary of a full-time job. Oh, and by the way, you don't have benefits. You don't have 401k.
I had this conversation with my audience, and I'll let you guys know because I was transparent with them. I'm probably going to pull 90 at the end of the year from YouTube, Twitter, all the media together. 90 is awesome.
You're doing what?
90K a year in just like the business's revenue, right?
That's not including your plays though.
That's not including the market. No, I've actually
talk about the plays. YouTube.
I showed my losses today. Speaking of losses,
we don't got to talk about that.
So I showed my losses. Oh yeah,
the market goes down one day. You show your losses. I love it.
Well, when the market goes down on a day like this, that's when you got to show your losses, because that's when people actually are struggling.
Yeah, that's real though. That's being real.
They don't want to show it. So on that 90K though, people might think, oh, he just sits in front of his camera and talks. And it's like, dude, first of all, there's no health benefits. There's no freaking dental, vision care, any of that stuff. If I don't create, I don't get paid, right? It's not like you have a sick day or anything like that. On Saturday and Sunday, there's not really any markets that are happening. So you got to be creative and come up with content if you even stream on those days. Second of all, the work you're doing in those 2 hours, like what you're doing, ripping and shipping, you are entertaining. We're in the entertainment business at the end of the day. You are trying to keep people's attention, and you're trying to get a transaction when you're keeping people's attention. To keep 3,000 people's attention, right, you got to have some skill sets that are actually meaningful enough to grow that audience and keep their attention. And then number two, which is the hardest thing, people think it's a couple of hours a day. The amount of research you have to do to be able to perform on those couple of hours so that people actually come back the next day, aka there's retention. Because if there's no retention, just like a teacher, she has to teach her kids every day. The kids are obligated to come to school. She has a market to teach to, therefore she gets paid. If no one's watching your streams, no one's actually consuming your content, you have no market to get any revenue off of. So it is a very complicated business. It is hard to pull off. You've got to fucking dedicate your life to it to be a content creator. And even then, 90K, I'm so grateful for that. But that's not like 500.
Wait, is that 90K? Is that YouTube revenue alone?
Yeah, YouTube and Twitter put together.
Dude, that's fantastic.
No, that's fantastic. That's amazing. And I love doing what I'm doing every day. I'm so grateful.
So you're monetized on Twitter too?
Yeah, but Twitter's
probably Elon.
Elon's paying. But the point is, you've got to fucking work to have, and I've always said this, what I'm doing is a privilege, right? To be in the media business is a privilege. To get your thoughts and ideas out there, it is a privilege that most people don't have. Most people have to work real jobs. So in order to have that privilege and actually monetize that privilege, you've got to be so much better than the next guy. That's the other thing about YouTube. There's a billion people that want to do what you're doing. So it's cutthroat competitive in terms of content. And it's just really hard. So anyone emailing you, how do I start a Pokemon business? I think their mindset already. Like, people email me or DM me on Twitter, how do I start making content? I'm like, how do I even explain it to you? Like, you got to be obsessed with this.
Just do it. But the bigger problem also is that, and I'm going to put it in terms that Amit will completely appreciate, they're not thinking about it as an income statement. They're not thinking about it as the revenue, and then you have your cost of revenue, and then your gross profit. And then in addition to the cost of revenue, which is buying all the product, you have all your operating expenses that go back to the physical store footprint of the LCS and all the other expenses that go into it. And then you have your operating income, and then you have all your taxes you got to pay on the operating income, and then you get to your net profit. So after everybody has their hand out, how much product do you really have to sell to make that monthly nut before you start paying yourself? And then let's not even go down, or we're going to go there, the path of going to conventions. For some reason, people don't think that traveling expenses is part of your business.
That's my thing. That's my Palantir doesn't pay for me to fly out. Dude, in June, I spent $4,000 on a credit card to go to my first Palantir event. Why? Because I know that Palantir event is worth way more than $4,000.
It's an investment for you.
It's an investment, but that's still $4,000, bro. That's still a lot of money.
It goes against it. And that's hotel, food, airfare. People think that they're going to freaking start a shop, go to conventions on the weekend. The gas in their car isn't free. The food they're eating isn't free. The tables isn't free. And if you got to fly and get a hotel, I mean, people will go broke going around to conventions because they're not realizing these are operating expenses.
Yeah, I did that video where I did my first convention, and it was for the sole purpose of breaking it down. And I kept track of everything. I broke down every single travel expense, the hotel, the meals, the table cost, the vending cost, like all my inventory, exactly what I paid for the inventory, what I sold, the profits I made. And then I took all those numbers on the profits, and I ran them directly side by side with if you would have just stayed at home and sold everything on eBay. I took the last auction price of every single item. And the difference between what you would have got on eBay and the convention were like neck and neck. And I'm like, so you went and worked your entire weekend when you could have just threw a bunch of things on eBay auction, let them all sell, ship them out, took you a couple hours. Instead, it took you, 16, 20 hours of working that whole weekend and traveling to make the same amount of money. And I don't think people
think about the competition at that show they went to.
Yep.
You have 400 or 500 tables of vendors at a halfway decent sized show. Some of the bigger shows you could have 800 tables. So you think about the
and here's the other thing. What you're doing, Alex, at the end of the day, is still creative. What I'm doing on YouTube is creative. The anxiety, I don't think people think about this enough. The anxiety a creator goes through in terms of, first of all, you got to build the audience. Okay, that's 0 to 1. Then you built the audience. Now you got to keep the audience, and the anxiety of not creating, not being there in the big moments, not constantly producing, not, being live for this moment, even though you want to spend some time with your family. Like, that is real anxiety. And that's anxiety you have to reconcile with. And you got to toughen up if you're going to do this full time and be able to just withstand that. And there's all these things that come with being in this line of business.
Creator block is a real thing.
Creator block, right? Now my job's easier because there's so much news to react to, so it makes it easier to not be blocked. But still, like, you got to be able, like, sometimes the streams could get boring, and I've got to think of new jokes to freshen it up. Thankfully, I don't have a problem with jokes because it naturally comes out, But still, it's like yesterday, right? In terms of a technical analysis, when you're looking at stocks, there's this term called head and shoulders. And so my friend was describing the head and shoulders pattern, and I was like, sometimes the head and shoulders gets into your eyes. And that level of creativity, like genuine creativity, is not, it's not that easy to come up with, right? And so if I can't come up with those ideas, it might be less entertaining. And so I pat myself on the back and I get to the next joke. But you got to be
dealing with the constant haters.
I mean,
Yeah,
I will say that you're very quick off the fly with the jokes, though.
I would say I'm quick off the fly with the jokes, even though sometimes they suck. And I'm quick off the fly of responding to things and trying to make an argument against it or for it, right? So if someone has a comment and they say, hey, Amit, what do you think about this industry? Like, you might not know a lot about it, but you have to take all your past knowledge, like an LLM, and try to come up with some type of response that's meaningful for the audience. And that's how it works. And then in terms of haters, yeah, there's trolls and stuff like that. I think my community is like 97% supportive, and that doesn't mean they always agree with you, but they're supportive. And there's like 3% of people that are just dicks, you know, and they'll say something stupid or whatever. But you ignore those people too. You don't want to ban them unless they're spamming, but you don't want to like censor them. You just ignore them instead and move on from them. And that takes skills as well. How do you ignore someone who's calling you a stupid idiot? You kind of just be like, all right, I got to ignore it, right? And move on.
No, that's true, man. That's all really good advice for everyone like thinking about doing the creative stuff, because it's all part of it, you know? I mean, you know, what's funny too is I think like us as creators too, we put the weight on ourselves. It's like we come up with these schedules in our head and then we have to stick to them. And then it becomes hard to stick to it sometimes. But even though like, you know, you could probably not put out a video one day and your audience would get it and everyone would be fine, but you would feel like you really let them down and you should have had a video out, and then you see your YouTube analytics drop that day and you're like, oh, and it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like we're rats in a wheel sometimes.
That's what we are. But like, then again, any 9-to-5 is a rat on a wheel. Any job career, entrepreneur or not, you're a rat on a wheel. You got to pick which type of rat you want to be, right? Matt says I ignore him. Matt, you were literally on the stream for 30 minutes today saying I ignore him. No, we love Matt, dude. Matt, Steve, all these people in this community, dude. It's awesome building that. And I think that's the most important thing as well as a content creator. You got to build more people in that community that enjoy creating content with you.
Jeremy said Amit laughs at his own jokes, though he makes it cool.
Yeah, if the jokes suck, you got to make it cool, bro. You got to have.
I love it, man.
Dude, here's the other thing.
I got to get deeper in the Amit community, man. That sounds fun.
The other thing is, I was talking to a friend about this morning. I still get a little bit of butterflies in my stomach before I press go live.
Do you really?
Yeah, and I've done it, I don't know how many times at this point, but there's still a little bit of like, I'm about to talk to thousands of people. And I feel like there's got to be those butterflies, because the day those butterflies leave, I'm probably bored of doing this, right? There's got to be a little bit of anxiety of like, all right.
And you mostly do all live content, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, so I publish a video about Palantir. It hasn't been daily for the past few weeks because just life's been so busy. But yeah, it's mainly live. 95% of it is live.
Yeah, so like so I post like an actual recorded video every day between like 10 to 25 minutes or so. And that's one of the hardest parts is like, you know, you keep wanting to get it right. And so there have been times where I've recorded it like, you know, had to start over like 8 times or something. And because I don't write out a script. I don't like, you know, I kind of have some topics in mind. I'll do some research and I'll kind of like get it in my brain and go. And sometimes I'll get it on the first take. But sometimes, man, it's just like you just can't get it right. You're trying to get the words out right. You're trying to make sure it comes out in like a digestible form. And that's even 10 times harder on a live stream because there's no restart button. So.
There's, and that's the thing and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. Like if I mess up on a topic or something, it'll bug me throughout the end. Dude, if I make a typo on a long tweet, I will be annoyed in my community. I will be so pissed off because you can't delete the tweet and then repost it because Twitter algorithm doesn't like that. I will be annoyed. And so on a live stream, if I get something wrong, I'll forgive myself for it, but I'll really get mad at myself. And I've had to teach myself like, it's okay, right? You're going to make mistakes. But that's the cost of business of being in this industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Steve, what are you looking at? Are you looking at your Ripple go to the moon or something?
No, sending a couple of texts. For some reason, my iCloud is grayed out. I was trying to figure out how to make it where I could download pictures from iCloud, but the new updates that got published, I guess
He actually just released his new Seeking Alpha article. It was about shorting Palantir, I heard.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Where's the $150 price target? Because Steve, I think if you write that article, you put it on paper, I think we will get to 150 and you're going to look like a genius, but you got to put it out on Seeking Alpha. You got to do it.
No, all right. In all seriousness, I typed that title up as a joke for you.
I know. He sent me a picture of the title and I legit thought he was going to write it. And the next morning, Palantir's up 5%. And he's like, this is fucking stupid. You just said you were writing an article. What's happening? Like, I thought he was
oh boy. I mean, listen, it could.
It will. We're gonna get to 150. That's happening, Steve. I don't know if it's happening next year, but it's happening.
It could.
Definitely. What do you mean it could? It will. I need to
All right,
change
here,
the
I
vocabulary.
don't want to put you on the spot, man, Amit, but like, what are there any like laws against like talking about companies like you do? Because like I always say in a lot of my videos, like, because I always like I'm always worried about it. I'm like, guys, not financial advice, you know, but these Pokemon products, I think they're gonna go here. I think they're gonna go here. Like, are there any laws about like calling price points and targets and things like that?
Not really. I mean, like, you got to compare. So you should always say not financial advice, disclaimers, and I do that as well. Even though everyone will joke, no, dude, I'm only buying because Amit said so, and people will joke about that. But
Yeah.
You got to think about someone like Bill Ackman, who goes on CNBC, who manages
Right.
18. Yeah, he'll say whatever the hell he wants, and some things will go up and down because that's massive distribution. And very few times has the SEC like gone after these big guys. They only go after the little YouTubers if you're doing an obvious pump and dump. So, for example, there are small cap stocks, 1 million shares outstanding, stocks at $1. If anyone of influence talks about it, even with my audience, you could get a lot of people buying up shares of stock.
Like the old like the old Tim Sykes type stuff, the penny stock day traders.
Exactly. And so there's been a lot of people in my chat, because we're getting a little bit of froth in the market, that are seeing these small caps go to the moon, and they're saying, hey, can you talk about it? And I'm actively like, I cannot speak about this stock, because if there's any lawsuit, which a lot of times happens with these small caps because the SEC is like, what the fuck is going on here? They're going to start investigating, well, who's been talking about this thing? And then if you got 50,000 videos of this guy saying, hey, this $2 stock will be a 50, then they're going to be like, all right, you're pumping and dumping it, right? And so that's why I try to stay away from that, stay away from the cryptos. But in general, if you're talking about Nvidia, Tesla, like, no one cares. It's not that big.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the biggest companies in the world. I mean,
I still have a feeling I'm looking at like the next Roaring Kitty here, man.
Well, Roaring Kitty, think about Roaring Kitty too, right? Like, he pumped up GameStop, in my opinion, dumped it, and still he had to go through an SEC court case, but nothing happened to him. And he did it again in May. Nothing happened to him, right? It is hard to prosecute someone.
That was crazy, by the way. Like, the amount of viewers that were in that stream was out of control.
we should talk about GameStop.
We should. Okay, so Amit, do you know anything about GameStop as the stock?
I know a decent amount about GameStop, yes.
So they're making huge plays in the Pokemon world, if you didn't know.
Oh, I did. I know because of our good friend Steve.
Okay, so he's already been hounding you on it. Yeah, so I mean, it seems like they have taken all their money that they got from becoming a meme stock and, sold off shares and all that. And they're super cash heavy, and they're completely restructuring their business and really diving into the TCG and collectible world.
I don't know if Ryan Cohen actually cares about investors.
I agree, but Nat Turner is now on GameStop's board, and he is the CEO and president of Collectors, which owns PSA and SGC grading. And this comes right after GameStop did a big deal with PSA to do PSA grading in their stores, or shipping out to PSA in their stores. So there is a very big partnership happening behind the scenes for Nat Turner to get on GameStop's board.
When did he join the board?
What was that, a couple weeks ago? Maybe a couple months ago? Recently.
Dude, they have $4 billion in cash, and I just don't. They haven't deployed any of it in.
And this is where
way.
they're going to deploy it, in my opinion, because the secondary market for video games is gone. It'll be
wait, hold on. They're going to turn video games into collectibles? That's your argument?
What I think GameStop is going to do is become the first national LCS chain. And they'll run GameStop conventions. They'll run GameStop tournaments. They'll turn their stores 50% of the square footage to 80% into TCG, because there's so much crossover with their current clientele. Because the video game market is dying for them, because a lot of people are doing digital now. The new consoles probably won't have physical disc space. So their whole secondary market goes up in smoke. It's pretty much up in smoke now. So they have better knowledge than anybody else about cultivating and maintaining a secondary market for assets. So they'll probably apply the same business model to TCG cards.
Wait, so hold on. What cards are they gonna? They're gonna sell cards of video games?
No, Pokemon cards.
Oh, wait. So the video game business is gonna
Yes.
go away.
Yes.
So they're already selling Pokemon like in their stores on their website. They're starting to they will buy your card. They'll make you offers on your PS. Like I can bring this card in there and they'll make me an offer on it right now and pay me in PayPal or cash. And then they're also grading your cards for you. So you can take your raw cards there. They make the submission right then and there, and they'll send your cards into PSA and grade them for you. And then when they come back, you pick them up. So here's one thing I want to say. Have you ever been to a card shop like in your life?
No, but I did. I have watched vlogs about them, but I've never.
What's
been.
like your preconceived notion of a card shop?
It's like a pawn shop where you're negotiating with the guy, right?
Yeah. So the average American, like average person, average parent, their image of a card shop is like, you go in, there's a bunch of like, I don't know, like sweaty guys over there playing the game and like, some, guy maybe like dressed in dark and all tats, like doing this. Like it's not a welcoming environment, right? And so what GameStop I think is trying to do is make a welcoming, large, big name franchise that people aren't afraid to go into that's going to get the general public in and make that a game shop across the entire country. And it'll probably help people feel more comfortable walking into them because the truth is a lot of people feel intimidated walking into game shops because, the people behind the counter talk way over their head and, everyone in there seems like a hardcore, like, nerd into whatever hobby they're in. Whereas the majority of people in these hobbies are just casuals. And they're more likely to go to like a big name store like GameStop. They're more likely to shop on GameStop than go to like a TCG player, which I'm sure you've probably never heard of, or eBay. They're more likely to go to GameStop.com and shop just like they would go to Walmart or Amazon or something like that. And so like, I think that's the benefits that GameStop has going forward if they're going to take that route.
And their locations are predominantly in malls and shopping centers that are anchored by grocery stores. TCG shops or LCSs are normally off the beaten path, not as accessible, maybe not in the most desirable areas in town, probably out of the way a little bit where you are passing a GameStop quite a bit. And it's a much more inviting atmosphere. And the shops are in heavily foot trafficked areas. So GameStop needs to do something. They have basically no debt on the balance sheet. I think it's 17 million. They have over 4 billion in cash. They have the on-hand liquidity to make deals with Nintendo directly, who owns Pokemon, Hasbro, who owns Magic the Gathering, and become the largest buyer of TCG cards. And they already have the deal with PSA. They can create a first and secondary market in a matter of 2 weeks if they wanted to.
So yeah, I mean, and that's one of the problems with game stores too, is like not all of them, some are very well capitalized, but I mean, I just am talking to some friends of mine and like, maybe they have their own game stores competing with others. Like there is so many times where people will walk in with large collections and they'll get turned away because they don't have the cash on hand to even pay for them, where it's like GameStop can literally take anyone's collection at any time with the amount of capital they have.
But do we think GameStop's actually going to go down this route, or is this just a theory?
No, I think they're going down this route.
Here's another thing. Like we were just talking about, right? A lot of people in this industry find it hard to even make a good full-time income running their own business, right? Well, it's like if you can come to them and say, "Hey, we're going to pay you this to buy out your business. We're going to pay you this salary. Come work for GameStop." Now you have an expert. You're going to pay them as much as they were making running their own business, and all they got to do is show up to work now and work for GameStop, and now you have a TCG expert running for them. I mean, I think it's possible.
And they have the brand recognition where you saw Collecticon, or how many people are there. They could put on their own GameStop-a-con or whatever they want to do. They could do it every month. They can have tournaments on the weekends, at night. Tournaments are huge with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic. And they could really do a full 360-degree vertically integrated company with different tentacles, from the tournaments to the conventions. They can even turn the conventions into dual, run video game tournaments out of there. There's a lot of synergy between the two. I think it's their only play, because if they don't, there's really no other business opportunity other than becoming a holding company, making investments. this fits in their wheelhouse with what they're already doing. They're just replacing one type of product for another.
But will Ryan Cohen actually do this?
Oh, who knows? I think that the deal with PSA indicates that there is a likelihood that this is the next step, especially since they already built the infrastructure on the website for the buying and selling of cards.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is there already.
He's got doubts of Ryan. I can tell.
Dude, they should have bought Bitcoin in May when they raised the money. Like, think the stock would have doubled by now, but they didn't.
Take the micro strategy approach.
Or just put it on the balance sheet. I mean, like, and although I'm not saying I'm a fan of that, but like, you got $4 billion you're doing nothing with. Like, at some level, even throwing $550 million in there would have helped. But they've just shown they don't even do a conference call on their earnings, dude. Like, anyone who trusts GameStop, I don't know what you're smoking. Not saying the stock can't go up, but I don't know what you're smoking to trust this company.
Yeah.
How do you invest in a company that doesn't do an earnings call?
And I am not saying that I am not invested. I'm probably not investing. I've never invested, even during the mania. I really don't care about it. I am just saying that this seems like a likelihood that this is the next way that it goes.
I hope they do an earnings call if they do this, because they're going to have to explain this pivot. And if you can't do an earnings call, I mean,
I may or may not own some GameStop.
No, that's fine. I think that's fine to own it if you believe in the potential. But there are smart investors that are like, well, we believe in some things. And I'm like, well, what do you know about the company? They're like, we don't know anything because they don't tell us anything. I'm like, so what do you?
To be fair, Steve told me not to buy it when I talked to him about it.
Well, look, if you believe in the potential of something, I don't care what you invest in. But there are people that think GameStop is like cares about them. It's like, no. You might care about their potential and hopefully they execute, but they don't give a fuck about you. Because if they gave a fuck about you, they would have done an earnings call.
Yeah, the only thing we know about them is what they report on the balance sheet and income statement and cash flow statement. And look, the numbers are getting better. They have a tremendous amount of cash, but you can't deny that in 2015, they did $9.3 billion in revenue, and in the trailing 12 months, they've done $4.3 billion. They've lost more than 50% of their revenue.
And so they diluted shareholders by 30 million shares.
And they need to do something. Otherwise, this is going to continue to be a ship that continues to fill with water. So I think it's inevitable that they make this switch.
I mean, as far as like I know it's not Pokemon, but as far as like the TCG world's concerned, with Hasbro, right? Magic the Gathering continues to like basically, I mean, I don't want to say keep them afloat.
It's their only profit center.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like, I mean, the reason that Hasbro's doing well is like it's all Magic the Gathering, which shows like even more tremendous like love for the cardboard, the TCG world. Like people are pouring money into these things, man.
I'm going to their slide deck now.
Yeah, what if GameStop? So, Steve, you still believe their real estate could be valuable as well, right?
I don't know because they don't own it. It's all capital leases.
So they would get rid of all the real estate and turn into it.
I think they would. If I was them, what I would do, if I wanted to make this a plan, I would get rid of the undesirable location leases. I wouldn't renew them, and I would only renew the leases that are in Class A malls or strip centers that are anchored by grocery stores. I wouldn't do any other capital leases except for those because those have the most foot traffic. And I would try to build a national brand because they have the footprint for it. And let me share this. So Hasbro owns Magic the Gathering.
Are you trying to share something?
Yeah, I'm going to share it right now. I just brought it up. What the fuck? Oh, it's on a window. There we go.
Why'd you just curse, bro?
Come on, man. Children friendly.
I'm sorry.
Dude, you know, parents are telling me their kids are watching the stream now, so I'm like holding back every curse word.
I'm sorry. I apologize. So on Hasbro's Q3 earnings, Wizards of the Coast is Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, I believe. Its operating profit is the most for the business. I mean,
you mean no one's buying Monopoly anymore?
I mean, I'm not sure if Monopoly is in consumer products or entertainment, but, you know, Wizards of the Coast is their largest profit center. That's a fact.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Mattel, right? When Barbie, that movie came out, Mattel had some momentum as well.
I mean, Amit, look at this for the 9 months in 2024. It is really their main profit driver.
Yeah.
Doing 9 times more than their consumer products.
I just think there's a big push for cardboard right now. Like
There is.
I don't know. I don't know
You
what
can
it
see
is.
it in the numbers here. This is real numbers from Hasbro. Wizards of the Coast segment is almost $1.2 billion in 9 months revenue. Over $500 million in operating profit. There's a real push for this.
You know, and they're smart. They're smart how they break it down with digital gaming, so that way you can't like you can't do the math to see how much they're printing and stuff.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be too easy. We could backdoor into the numbers.
Right.
You think? I mean, so that means you're saying that the websites, the GameStop website is where people would go to buy Pokemon cards. That would be the business.
They already do.
You already do. You want to bring it up, Alex?
Yeah. Can I see what this looks like?
Yeah, I mean, they already have the infrastructure. I think it would be the website and the stores.
But why would they be the go-to place people go to over like Alex's channel?
Oh, there's a place for both in the consumer economy, but there's a lot of people that visit physical stores. I just think it's more inviting to go to a GameStop than
this is their homepage. This is GameStop's homepage. It's not video games.
Go back to the left on the first one of the banner.
It's Pokemon right there. I mean, you scroll down, there's video games. But yeah, I mean,
Alex,
Pokemon products there already.
Back up. And yeah, buy, sell, go through everything on the reel there. Click that. No, go back one and just click the reel and go through the different things on the banner. Because on the second or third one, there's a thing for PSA right there.
There it is.
So right there. Get your cards graded with PSA. This is the shift that they're making.
Drop your cards off. PSA authenticates the cards. Collector trade in.
I mean, it's not crazy to think that.
And you can already, like I said, you can already shop right on there they're already selling all the cards on their website.
And you can sell your cards to GameStop as long as it's a PSA 8 or higher. So
yeah,
they're already creating the infrastructure. I think this is very bullish for Pokemon, for the entire ecosystem of the cards. And I think this is another reason why it's bullish to buy the booster boxes.
Like I said, the only thing, and me and Steve talked about a million times too, it's like the only big negative is how it's so hard to like bring the market together because there's no like
can't do it.
There's no 100% agreed upon market price for things because, you know, one auction house could sell it for something. eBay could be something else. You could get a different amount at a private sale or in person or on TCG Player, on GameStop. And so the fact that there's always different market prices, you know, it'd be like you telling someone, oh yeah, well, I traded that stock on my brokerage for this. Well, on my brokerage, I got this for it. It's almost like how crypto was, you know, with all the different brokerages. And so that's the only like issue with Pokemon is you kind of have to know where to buy and where to sell type thing.
Yeah, if there was a way to, and I've racked my brain around this for years at this point, and I've stopped, I would raise a ridiculous amount of money to build a efficient marketplace. There's no way to do it. You can't do it because there's nothing's regulated. Everything is true free market because the free market on eBay may dictate a different price than the free market at a convention, than the free market at an LCS. And there's no way to have a unified price across platforms. So I've stopped thinking about how to do it to try to fix that because it's impossible.
Here it is. Here's the answer. There it is.
Wouldn't matter.
I mean, Counter could probably help, but yeah, they've got to do a lot of stuff to.
No, it wouldn't matter because you can't sell your stock to me privately outside of the confines of the stock market.
Yeah.
I could sell you every Pokemon box I have privately and nobody would ever know.
Well, what if that's the big idea? What if there's a exchange for cards?
They've tried,
but I feel
that.
like he would have to make it digitized to do that.
They've tried. They've tried, like, it was called Liquid Marketplace, where they tried to, like, you could sell like fractional shares of cards, and it just, I don't know why it all fell through. There was a bunch of issues with it, but like,
but if someone could build the Robinhood of Pokemon trading, where you could swipe up and get and buy half of a card or whatever, like, it's probably hard, but I feel like it's possible.
So, Amit, I wrote a 30-page business plan. I still have it.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah, I did a lot of market research with how much it would cost, warehousing, security, temperature control, marketplace, running the app, building the app.
Why didn't you just email me and ask me how to start?
Well, I could have.
Wait, hold on. 30 pages? Like, you actually spent this much time?
Oh, yeah. I still have it on my Google Drive. And
I got to see this.
I'll send it to you. So what I wanted to do was create a eBay solution, including the vault solution with fractional share solution, where I could take this box, send it into a company. It's trading for $1,000.
Yeah.
Tokenize it, where I now get 1,000 shares for it. And then it becomes my decision if I want to sell those 1,000 shares into the ecosystem, at 100 shares at $10 a pop. And if I want to sell all 100 shares into the ecosystem, or if I want to retain 50, keep a 50% stake in the box, and then sell the other 50, and then allow people to buy fractional ownership in this, and then me release more if I want to sell the rest of it. And
why isn't this a thing? This makes sense to me.
It's been, like I said, it's been tried. Logan Paul was involved with the Liquid Marketplace, and it didn't. I don't know why it didn't work out.
Taking a fraction, just like Robinhood and the brokerage used to back in the day, kind of equates to option contracts. Every transaction would be a fit. There would be
you need market makers here.
You need market makers. You need a lot of things, but the bigger thing is storage.
Wait, why do people keep saying in the chat people want to redeem the physical? Why? You're never opening it. Like, you're just staring at it all day. Why is the physical?
And that would also be the thing. You could, if you actually bought all 100 shares of this, you could cash it out and redeem the physical when you actually owned every 100 share, because the shares would be serialized. So if you bought all 100 shares of it, you could redeem it. There would be a way for that.
So the only way you could cash out would be to sell your shares to someone else who wanted the shares.
Exactly.
Which makes the price go higher.
All those shares.
So it's almost like like what Grant Cardone does with his real estate or something, like a syndicator.
In a way, yes, but not really, because you can never actually take possession of one of those buildings, whereas you could take possession of this box or an individual card.
Oh, because you could actually technically buy it.
Yeah, because my idea was if you have a card that runs up so much, like you have a card that's worth 10 grand and you want to put some of that money to work, you could send the card and get all the shares for the card, keep half of the shares, sell the other half of the shares, and now have 5,000 of liquidity to go buy other shares of stuff. And it would fluctuate because there would be a market for reselling those shares. But the cost to maintain the business, the cost for the infrastructure, the cost for the temperature control, the cost for the 24/7 security, the cost for the insurance way outdoes the potential for profit. And I just said it's not worth even trying to raise the money to do it.
Yeah, because eBay and these places are free to shop on. Why would someone pay to shop on a platform?
Or not shopping, it's buying fractional shares into it with the potential of getting the product.
But there would have to be like a trading fee or something.
Yeah, it would be a very small trading
fee. And then that's the problem nowadays. It's like people don't pay fees anymore because all the brokerages make their money on the order flow.
Exactly.
And so it's like there's no order flow in Pokemon.
But what I'm saying in the chat is people actually want to touch and look at the card, which means this whole fractional thing is not going to work if people want.
And that's the other thing. It may not work. I mean, people have done it, tried, and lost money doing it.
Like again, I've got this physical share of Tesla, which is great. But most people, it's a physical share of Tesla.
Where'd you get that?
I had a friend who he lost a bet, so he had to buy it from me. But it's up 3x or 2x right now. But the problem is, if someone has 1,000 shares of Tesla, they don't need 1,000 of these. They're fine with seeing it on digitally on a brokerage. And
Yeah,
with
because
Pokemon,
how the hell are you going to sell that thing?
I mean, that's a good
Same
point.
way I'm going to sell the physical shares of Palantir. You're just not.
Yeah, I'm probably never selling it. I'm going to have this.
Yeah, it's something you hang on your wall. But the only way to sell it is to actually go through that company and liquidate it. And it's a process. It's not as easy as clicking the button.
Yeah, and if people care about the physical cards, they're probably...
Yeah, I just don't think there's a big enough market for fractional share ownership to make the type of investment. To make the type of investment I'm talking about, I calculated at around $50 million.
Wait, you need to raise 50 million?
Minimum to do what I was talking about. Minimum.
Dude, I can give you 50 million. You should have just asked. Like,
yeah, sure.
Why didn't you ask, dude? I got you.
He has to sell off like 10% of his Palantir.
No, I want 90% of the business, but I'll give you the 50 million.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing too, is like people keep saying, I mean, look, I'm one of the people, like, I get it. I get the physical, I understand that side of it, but the rise of this Pokemon Pocket app and the millions and millions of downloads it has, and the amount of people on there that are ripping digital packs and collecting these digital cards is something that can't be denied. So there is definitely a demand for people wanting these on-screen collectibles. NFTs didn't completely die. There are still some that have value.
Dude, NFTs. Are you a fan of Gary V's V-Friends thing?
I
mean, I'm not a fan, but I'm very aware of it. Yes.
Okay, so I was the biggest Gary V fan ever when I was in college. When a young ambitious guy in college probably is a Gary V fan. I've kind of grown out of his content.
I've grown out of his content, but his message lately, it's how I felt my entire life. The redefining of success in our culture, it's something that needs to be done. Like, the chasing the dollars is just part of the puzzle to actually like being fulfilled in life. And like, I just love how he's going down that route.
I agree. Now, the NFT shit I thought was weird because in 2021, he says, I want to come up with the next Disney by using these V-Friends. And these are characters that preach about positivity and health and ambitiousness and all this shit, right? Cool. Nice idea. But they're NFTized. And he was doing it in 2021 when the market was up. I don't know the floor value on these NFTs, but essentially the idea is he makes so much content. He makes the next Disney, the next Mickey Mouse out of these characters that one day the NFTs are worth a lot more. Do you think that is the right strategy, or do you think a lot of people are just calling bullshit on this because at the end of the day, it's an NFT. There's nothing physical about it outside of the media that's out there, and it's not that.
Well, didn't he have like certain like things you would get with them, that like events or things you'd be invited to, or wasn't he like promising certain things in the future with them?
Yeah, but like 10 years from now, why will a V-Friend NFT be worth more than it is today? Outside of the access, you get FaceTimes with him and stuff, but like there's a big key man risk here, and it's like him, right? And and by the way, he raised, talking about 50 million, Steve, he raised 50 million from Andreessen Horowitz to build this out. They gave him 50 million bucks a year ago to go do this. So that's why I asked about the NFTs on Pokemon, because like Gary V can raise 50 million to build his empire around his next Disney characters. How is Pokemon not having a multi-$100 billion empire of digital assets that can be traded 24/7 that you don't need to see the physical card for?
And what's crazy is Pokemon's worldwide. Like, you
can have the physical card business and the NFT business.
Yeah, they print it in, Japanese and Chinese and Korean and, there's like Spanish and French and like, there's Pokemon cards all over the world in all different languages where it's just like, it's like a universal thing at this point.
Yeah, there's definitely a big market.
It's interesting. I don't know if it's going to work. He goes to the conventions and he's been trying to do it for a while. I mean, I just don't know how big the market is for that, because I saw NBA Top Shot fail. I saw the other sports stuff fail. And I just think that there's a big thing for the physical cards because of the whole physical TCG game aspect of it. And just when it comes down to it, gold and silver is still very popular, even though Bitcoin grabs all the headlines, because people like to touch and feel it. They like that idea.
You get touchy-feely with your gold and silver?
I mean, I got a 5-ounce paperweight right there.
Oh, no. Oh
Look,
man,
it's a big market. It's exciting. I definitely think that I'm gonna diversify into this. You guys got to help me figure out what to buy. But hey,
It's
why don't
simple.
I buy some stuff from your channel, Alex, and you can rip it and ship it on a stream. We could do that.
so that's for entertainment. That's for gambling. All right, so it's fun, but like, probably not the best investment route ripping packs.
Okay.
So I will. There's difference. There's a difference. You might pull a card that's like super valuable and it becomes worth a lot one day, but it's just like, the main thing is the sealed product, because that's the thing. Everybody's ripping, shipping, and like opening cards. Whereas very few people keep it sealed. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the road, people are like, hey, I want to open that product I remember opening. And it's like, oh wait, no one's got it anymore. Now it's $200-300 a box. And so like, that's where the play is. It's like keeping it to the point where no one has it. And the demand's still there. So people are willing to pay higher prices.
What's the big card out of Lost Origin?
Lost Origin?
Yeah.
Garatina V. I think it's worth about $400 raw and $800 to $1,000 in a PSA 10.
So think about it like this: in 5 or 6 years from now, if there's not many of those cards on the market for sale, people may want to start acquiring those boxes again to try to rip the packs and pull that card to send it out to be graded, if they're not able to buy PSA 10s on eBay.
Ooh, market's higher now. It's about $1,200 now. Expensive card.
You're on TCG?
I'm looking at the PSA 10 on eBay. There's sales at like $12, $12.75, $12.50, $1,083. It's somewhere in that probably $11 to $12.50 range.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say, Amit, it's kind of like investing in barrels of whiskey or wine. I mean, I actually looked at buying a barrel of whiskey from one of these programs. There's a lot, or art. I mean, there's a legitimate argument that this is modern day art, the way art was to people that are older than me. I could care less about artwork on a wall, but I would buy these cards, like sports cards I buy. Like, I think that there's a legitimate thing where the younger generation is going to correlate this to the same principle as a piece of artwork.
The most the card's gone for is like $1 million in Pokemon, right?
What did the illustrator go for, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I believe now we've had sales for like a couple over $1 million, a few million, whether it be like the, yeah, I guess it was the illustrator, wasn't it?
Because like a Picasso has gone for, I don't know the exact amount, but we're talking about tens of millions, right?
Yes.
Like, do you think a card could go for that much one day?
Well, I mean,
like I said, we have sports cards doing it. So in 20, 30, 40 years, I think the only thing Pokemon has going for it is just not that old yet. It's only 25 years old. So I think by the time we get to that, 50, 60 plus year old range, we could definitely see that.
So Amit, right now, and I'm going to share the screen so you can see the most expensive sports cards. So this was updated sometime in 2024, it said. The most expensive sale recorded is a Mantle 52 SGC 95 for 12.6 million. I believe that was in 2023, or they're saying 2022. So the SGC 10 is rumored to be going for $30 million. Now, I know Patrick Bet-David said on one of his podcasts he made a very big offer for it. I don't remember the number, but I think it was over $20 million he offered for it. So on the private market, there are bids for the PSA 10 version of this. And there's actually a YouTube video with Jeff Wilson sitting down with somebody who has one, who says that I believe that they said it's worth $30 million. And I would say Jeff Wilson's a pretty credible source in the hobby.
I would say so too.
Okay, so largest sale was the PSA 10 Pokemon Illustrator 2022, 5.27 million.
That is a decent amount.
Also, like here's some sets, like give you an idea. like, so this was released in 2021. So about 3 years ago now. I mean, literally they were like $100 at release. They dropped in the 80s and 90s. And lately it's having a massive run this year. Earlier this year was 140. Right now, the lowest one listed on the market, $330. We have sales right now, 330s, 350, 334. So 140 to 340. I mean, what is that? Like 130% gain. Evolving Skies, same way. It was like Steve just showed. He has a box of this. $436 last year.
That's right.
Ran all the way up. Lowest one on the market now is like $920. Then it jumps up pretty quickly. We're seeing sales at that. So, I mean, again, not as like crazy, gains as some of like the high flying cryptos and stocks, but Pokemon's seeing, similar runs right now. We're seeing 100, 130, 150% gains on these items.
Yeah. And I mean, again, over time, if they get more and more valuable.
Yeah. And like I said, the liquidity seems to be there as well. Like you can check a lot of these boxes and, every time they come to auction, they go for pretty much full market price, what last sold was, and, get paid everything. So, at least going back 10 plus years right now, it does seem to be that like the liquidity is not becoming an issue as these products get into the thousands and even tens of thousands.
And Amit, you could even do a strategy where you buy a case of every product, wait 3 to 5 years. Case has 6 booster boxes in it, rip the case open, sell 3 of them, get your money out. Now you're sitting on 3 boxes for free, and you use those other 3 boxes to go buy another case of the new product out. And after you do it long enough, every 3 months when a new product comes out, you continuously do that cycle, and you eventually build up a room of just sealed product you own for free.
Yeah, the zero cost basis method is the best. Like, usually the time frame is between like 3 to 4 years is when most products will double or more than double for you. And then, depending on how big a position you want to get, a case or 5 cases, 10 cases, you can sell off about half of them, literally get your entire investment out, and the rest of them just sit there growing in perpetuity. And like you have zero cost basis, all your money's out of it, and it's just kind of like an easy way to build wealth over time in a different asset.
And there's also a way to get around high fees. You could go with a consignment place, and there's 2. I mean, I don't mind plugging them. I've bought stuff from both of them, DC Sports Cards and Probstein, and I believe Probstein, anything over $1,000 on consignment, they just charge you 5% fee. Whereas
which is
eBay
a great deal. Like, you don't have
half.
to go through the deal of listing it and selling it and shipping
They
it.
do
Like,
everything.
just ship everything to Probstein. They'll sell it all for you. You pay them 5%, and your hands are wiped clean, and you get all your money.
And they have a huge infrastructure. They have a huge following, eBelt blasts. It's very efficient for higher end products. And you could sell cases on it. It's very interesting. Like Surging Sparks, I paid $650 for a case a couple months ago. Right now it's an anomaly. But what are cases going for now, Alex? $1,200, $1,300?
Surging Sparks. Let's pull it up. See how you're doing. You paid $650?
Yeah.
How long ago?
With 3 months, 2 months? I don't know.
That's a box. Hold on. Full case right here. $1,240.
So I've almost doubled my money on it. I could theoretically, what was the price on individual box right now? $220. I could
About
rip
210, 220, yeah.
Yeah, I could rip the case open, sell 3 boxes, and basically get 95% of my money out and still be sitting on 3 boxes for a cost of like $20.
Yeah, Surging Sparks is a bit of an anomaly. Normally they don't move up that fast. It just happened to be a very popular set, and it was just bought out really quickly. But and they can still reprint it. It's the price can come down, but there's short-term opportunities, long-term opportunities. I don't know, man. It's fun. It's something if you want to, dip your foot in and just have a little more diversification. It can be a good route.
I think it's a good idea. You guys have sold me on it. You guys got to help me figure out what ones to invest in, but it makes a lot of sense, dude. There's no bear case. I mean, I can't really think of the bear case for this.
I mean, even Maddie Money is buying.
Who's that? Maddie?
Maddie Money, the guy who gifted subscriptions.
Yeah,
appreciate you again, man.
He's diverse.
Even though Amit wasn't appreciative, I was.
No, he knows I'm messing with him.
He was trying to pump it up, get a little bit more out of it.
Oh man, dude, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This was fun.
This was great, dude. This is great. This is super. How did you and Steve meet?
Funny
Through this,
story. I'm gonna get wrecked.
Yeah, you reached out one time. What was it? You came to my Discord and you were talking about some plays you were making, and then a bunch of people jumped out on you for something.
Yeah, so I saw one of his videos, went on his Discord, and said I'm buying these cards, blah 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 blah. And people were like, "You don't know what you're doing. You show me you're doing that, you're gonna get wrecked." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "What? How am I gonna get wrecked? Like, it's a couple $100 worth of stuff. How am I gonna get wrecked? I don't understand." And then like they were straight up harassing me. So I messaged him, and then we started talking. I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm a contributor on Seeking Alpha. You know, I have these degrees. Like I understand finance. Like, why are these people like help me understand why are these people saying I'm going to get wrecked?" And then I ended up coming on his podcast, and we ended up talking about for like 3 hours, and I've been investing in stuff since. And I've just been buying sealed product, and I'll buy slabs here and there, but I buy way more sealed product just because it's more of a sure thing.
It's kind of like when I was talking about when Amit was saying like, 97% of whatever his community is like good, maybe 3% trolls. Pokemon community is a little different. There's definitely a lot more haters and a lot more trolls. So the finance and the Palantir space seem a little more accepting.
Why are they trolling? What are they trolling about?
There's this divide in the hobby where like Rudy Alpha Investments calls them the game piece army. They want everything to be very cheap, very affordable. They don't like any outside money coming in and running the price of their items up. They want the hobby to like stay pure. They don't like the idea of people that are just in it for the finances coming in. And like there's just like this beef between the two cultures, and that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's no beef, in my opinion. It's simply a free market where I see an opportunity, I'm going to take it. And if that opportunity works out, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I've had stocks that go up and stocks that go down. It's going to be the same way with this.
Yeah, I've caught heat. I've caught heat since the beginning of my channel because I've always been a hybrid. Like I grew up with the stuff. I do love the hobby. Like I have a collection too, but I also like understand the finance side. I understand the investing side. And I do know it is still about
so hold on. You're describing communists that don't want there to be a business in a thriving industry because they want you to stare and look at a card all day. That's what like these are people like in the stock market that never sell your shares because we just have to stare at the shares. I was like, what if you want to get your wife, a new car? Like you shouldn't take some profits. It's like these people are ridiculous.
Yeah, in the words of Rudy, they're Timmies.
Timmies.
Yes.
I don't know what that is. Okay.
Rudy calls them Timmies in a basement. I call myself Timmy in an office because I'm sitting in my office right now.
Oh man.
But
well, we won't keep Amit all night, man. He's probably got things to do, dude.
No, Amit doesn't need sleep. That's the last thing this guy needs. He's a young buck.
I'll get him started on this.
Dude, he's got an army to lead. He's a general now. You got to put some respect on that name.
But no, Amit, in all seriousness, this guy, Rudy from Alpha Investments, can you go to his Patreon page real quick?
I can't. I'm banned.
You can't even just go to patreon.com.
Yo, what is this Pokemon beef, bro?
No.
So Rudy's got this thing where if you join his Patreon and you ever leave, you're automatically banned. You can never come back.
What?
This guy.
Look.
It is the most incredible. So go to it from a different browser so you can show the different levels he has.
All right.
So this guy from Alpha Investments has become probably the biggest or one of the biggest sealed product businesses / collectors in the space.
All right,
His
here we
videos
go.
are so insane. And what he's done, I don't know when he started this. He started this like 10, 12 years ago on Patreon. He's got all these people that are prepaying for the right to buy product from him.
That sounds like a Ponzi.
It's not.
So basically, here's how it works. He's got a large distribution account where he orders thousands and thousands of boxes. So basically, you pay him a monthly fee, which is like either $10, $15, $20, depending on the amount you want to buy. and he'll sell it to you basically like just over his costs. So it'll be lower than retail costs. And how it works is if you're buying a large enough quantity, you're actually going to save money rather than buy it on retail and just pay him a fee to do so. And he had so many people that wanted to do what he was doing. And I believe he's up to like 3,000, 4,000 Patreons now, all paying him $15 to $20 a month, which is just like
that's
YouTube. And he's already said that he's doing like 12 or 14 grand a month on YouTube. And I mean, that's not even including the sales. I mean, you go on his videos, I mean, he walls and pallets of just freaking boxes. It's wild.
Well, that speaks to the creator economy, right? If you can get a dedicated fan base to actually pay you monthly, it's like Netflix, right? Netflix is on a global scale, but if you can get 3,000 people to pay $15 a month, that's 45,000 a month, right? That's not, it's not bad. So
yeah, this guy has created something crazy. I think Alex can get there and be Rudy 2.0.
I mean,
it sounds like you have the passion to do it. That's for damn sure.
Dude, Rudy, honestly, I still don't know how he did it. Like the risks that guy must have took to get to where he's at, because he has tens of millions in product, and it's just you don't get there by
well, what if like someone invested $1 million into you? Do you think you could become the next Rudy, or even 100 grand in you? Do you think it's a money thing, or?
No, I mean the amount of product you'd have to turn over so many times to get to that point, and like. You know, there's just a lot of things he did and got in so early before this that it's impossible to replicate at this point, right? It's almost like it's like finding the next Apple or Tesla or something. It's just like you can't. It's trying to catch lightning in a bottle.
That's a good way to put it. So, Amit, basically, when Meta went to 90 and Amazon went to 80 and all these things, Rudy was sitting in the equivalent of Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. Rudy was buying this stuff fresh and not caring and just sitting on thousands of boxes for 5 or 6 years because he didn't need to sell. And now those boxes have 6, 7x, and he's just sitting on that product, letting a case go here, case go there. It's wild.
No, makes sense. It makes sense.
It's a real term.
All
right, is a real term.
Yeah, I mean it's great to see the success of others like that, but it's just like, no, I don't have like the goal to try to become like Rudy or something. But I mean,
my buddy who you have talked with will not watch any more of his videos because he said it depresses him, and I'm not allowed to send him any more videos because he's like, he looks over at the stuff he has, and he's like, he sees Rudy's palette. He's like, what the hell am I doing wrong?
Yeah, it's like seeing somebody else's stock portfolio and just like getting all depressed.
Yeah, it's a toxic feeling. A thief is the enemy of joy, right?
But regardless,
comparisons.
This is a interesting market that a lot of people are not looking at, that I think are starting to look at it now, and I think there's just going to be more money coming into it, and I think GameStop's going to play a big part in it. And I still think it's early.
By the way, I saw someone ask in the chat who this Amit guy is. So I'm going to go ahead and share his stuff for him before we end things here.
He's the leader of the Palantir Army.
So Amit has if you guys want to check him out, make sure you go subscribe to his channel. The links are in the top of the description. Basically, here's his YouTube channel. It's at Amit Investing. And he's got 50,000 followers. He does a lot of live streams, guys. He's live multiple times every single day, talking all things the market. He also has a pretty large Twitter following over there on X. Sorry, X following, my bad. Look at this, guys. Over 115,000 followers. That's crazy, dude. That deserves a lot of credit. And I mean, sits down with CEOs. There he is with the co-founder of Robinhood right there. There's Vlad. And no, he's not with Elon Musk, but not yet. We'll get there. But I mean, just does a lot of that kind of content, a lot of market advice and like news and stuff like that. I don't know, Mitt. You tell everyone what's your sales pitch for your channel.
No, just if you're interested in the markets, every day we try to make it a fun show. We're gonna have Dan Ives on tomorrow. He's a very well-respected tech analyst, and so yeah, it's a 3-hour stream every morning, 2-hour stream every afternoon, and we talk about markets.
What time is Ives coming on?
10:30.
Steve, you didn't give me anything for me to shout out for you, man.
I don't need you.
You never do.
I don't want you to shout anything out.
Steve's got his Seeking
Okay.
Alpha side biz doing very well for him.
I know he talks about it like it's just no big deal, and he's just like
Dude, this
pumping
guy's
out the
printing.
money out of it.
This guy's printing. He's doing his thing, but he works hard.
printing.
Steve works really hard for Seeking Alpha, even though it doesn't feel like hard work to him. But he works.
That's why I called him crazy when he called me like trying to talk about this Pokemon business. I'm like, wait, so you want a third job?
Pretty much. I mean, that's what I do on my weekends. Like people think I joke about it. I'm like, no, like Friday night, I write an article. Sometimes I'll go on SoFi or Palantir Weekly, but I write an article on Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, I usually write 2 to 3 articles. And then I write 1 article at night during the week. I usually have 5 articles come out.
Dude, I write a lot on Twitter. I do a market recap every day.
You would do
stuff.
so good on Seeking Alpha. I don't know.
I love writing on Twitter. I would hate to sit down and write an article for Seeking Alpha. I can't do it.
So do you start it out on YouTube and did Twitter afterwards? Amit?
No, I kind of both at the same time. 2021, end of 2021, both at the same time.
I mean, because gosh, your Twitter's like double the size. That's crazy.
Yeah, Twitter was 25,000 in the beginning of the year, and my goal was to go to 50, and we kind of just caught a groove and kept working. And again, it's 24/7. You got to be posting every day and all the stuff that comes with it. But
it's all about the algorithm.
Yeah,
guys, I appreciate all you guys showing up tonight. Make sure to check out Amit. Don't check out Steve because he doesn't want us to give him anything to shout out. And I'll see you guys back here. And we got another live stream on Friday. Any last words, guys?
No.
All right, we're gonna
Thanks for having me on. Appreciated it. This was awesome.
Absolutely, brother. We're out all.